Chapter 1397. At the Empyrean Waterfall. Not far from Jiu Yinling's house, there was another hut next to Jiu Yinling and Han Fei's house. Because Han Fei asked He Xiaoyu to wait at the Empyrean Waterfall, and now that Han Fei had become a marshal, Jiu Yinling built a house for He Xiaoyu after she returned. Jiu Yinling didn't have many friends in the first place. Therefore, it would be great if He Xiaoyu could live at the Empyrean Waterfall for a while. At least she would have someone to accompany her. At this moment, in He Xiaoyu's yard, the members of He Xiaoyu's team were chatting non-stop. In the corner, there was a big cat squatting next to the barbecue grill. A manipulator remarked, "I was wondering why the captain went to the Empyrean Waterfall for no reason." So, he said that he was here for Sister Juyin, but what is he actually here for? I don't know. The armorist was grilling the barbecue with a smile. Also, the captain likes barbecue very much. I was puzzled. What is this barbecue? How does our captain know how to make such a magical taste? Now that Big Yellow mentioned it, it turns out that it's also General Han's doing. He Xiaoyu, on the other hand, was rather nervous and said coldly, "You guys, don't talk nonsense for no reason. The regiment is so busy. Why aren't you staying in the regiment? What are you doing here?" The female hunter smiled playfully. "Isn't this all thanks to you, Captain? Otherwise, we wouldn't have the luck to come to the Empyrean Waterfall to have barbecue when the island is on the highest alert. Now, the whole island is talking about General Han. There are all kinds of rumors." The armorist said, "General Han is so fierce. He killed a venerable with 3 punches. He killed a Dao-seeking level demon with 1 slash and 2 with 1 punch. Otherwise, they would have been shocked if they hadn't seen General Han in action." He Xiaoyu was speechless. Since when did he kill a venerable with 3 punches and 2 Dao-seeking level demons with 1 punch? Who was the one who spread this? The manipulator grinned. "No matter what other people think, we're on General Han's side anyway. By the way, Captain, are you really from the same hometown as General Han?" Big Yellow said, "What do you mean by that?" It was so unpleasant to hear. Han Fei sounded very nice. When will Han Fei come? This cat brought him shark fins. "You armorist, don't burn my fish wings." At this moment, Jiu Yinling walked over with a basket in her hand that contained some seasonings for the hot pot. He Xiaoyu was lost for words. "Jiu, why are you making trouble too? My leg is broken, and you brought so many seasonings. Are you going to eat hot pot?" Jiu Yinling smiled. Doesn't he like hot pot? He Xiaoyu's teammates looked at each other and thought to themselves, their relationship is a bit messy. He felt that Jiu Yinling and Han Fei seemed to be closer than their captain. He Xiaoyu naturally knew Jiu Yinling's personality. Whenever Han Fei was mentioned, Jiu Yinling wouldn't hide it at all. He Xiaoyu suddenly roared, "Why are you on the Sea of Pearls? I've already been assigned to a new team, yet I'm still able to meet you guys. Are you really not afraid of death?" The armorist grinned. "Captain, don't scold us. We're all from your team. Do you think you're the toughest team of the pioneers for nothing? Captain, on the other hand, you secretly went to the Sea of Pearls without us? Why? Are you looking down on us?" The hunter nodded. "That's right. We know you very well. You disappeared just now, so the few of us knew about it. Look, without our cooperation, you would have lost your leg, wouldn't you?" "Pa!" The manipulator patted the hunter's shoulder. "What are you talking about? What do you mean lost my leg? I can regrow my leg if it's gone. I'm afraid that Marshal Han will be very busy as a new official." The armorist who was grilling the barbecue said, "Doesn't that mean he can rest for a few more days?" "Huh. It's very lively here." All of a sudden, an unfamiliar voice rang out. The few people who were chatting and laughing quickly turned around and looked at the door. "Meow, Han Fei, you're finally back. I have something important to tell you, something very, very important." Jiu Yinling smiled. Big Yellow indeed has something important to tell you. Han Fei said angrily, something important? Are you going to undergo a tribulation? Meow, I'm not. Just wait and see. Meow, as Big Yellow meowed, Han Fei saw 5 yellow kittens rush at him. Needless to say, they were all Big Yellow's cat sons and daughters. The strongest of them was already a peak-level hanging fisher. He was not weak at all. It seemed that Big Yellow had made a lot of efforts over the years. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. When he left the Scattered Stars Island, he only left 2 cats for Big Yellow. Was he trying to create a cat clan? Big Yellow meowed, call me uncle. Meow. Meow. Meow, Han Fei's lips twitched. Damn, what kind of uncle do you have? Looking at the group of kittens staring at him, their eyes were round and round. Han Fei was speechless. With a thought, a cat threw a large mass of green liquid. What was it if not spirit awakening fluid? Han Fei couldn't help but smile. I won't give you food. You can already catch flood dragons in the sea now. The kittens are growing. Give them some spirit awakening fluid to moisten their bones. The group of kittens picked up their sea-swallowing seashells and swallowed the spirit awakening fluid with a swish. Looking at his skills, Han Fei felt that he was probably a recidivist. Sure enough, Big Yellow meowed, thank you, uncle. Meow. Meow. Meow, the corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched, and he said helplessly, Big Yellow. You've really put in a lot of effort. Zhou Ling snickered. Of course, this was not the first time this scene had happened. However, none of the previous victims of Big Yellow's extortion were as rich as Han Fei. Zhou Ling didn't know whether she should tell Han Fei or not. If you don't plan to live here. From now on, every time you come here, Big Yellow can bring its cat son and cat daughter to ask you for gifts. He Xiaoyu and her teammates were dumbfounded by the interaction between Han Fei and Big Yellow. They looked at each other in bewilderment. Is that fucking spirit awakening fluid? That's 3,500 points of spirit awakening fluid per catty. Damn, that must be hundreds of catties of spirit awakening fluid, right? That's 2 or 3 million points. They were shocked. Fuck, this is too extravagant. They almost engraved the words, I'm a local tycoon, on their heads. However, they forgot that the price of 3,500 points of spirit awakening fluid per caddy was only set in the past 2 years. In the past, it cost 5,000 points to buy a caddy. When Han Fei looked at them, they all straightened their bodies and shouted nervously, Greetings, General Han. Han Fei smiled faintly. No need to be so polite. Now that the grill and the hot pot have been set up, let's improve the food. Then, Han Fei casually threw out 2 weird creatures. One was a transparent algae eel, with only a touch of silver at the edge. The other was a heavenly spirit ray, 5 or 6 meters long. Meow, even Zhou Ling wasn't familiar with it. Big Yellow suddenly meowed. This is a heavenly spirit ray, a legendary creature. The blood of this one makes me feel a little excited. I'm afraid it has just entered the Dao-seeking state. What? He Xiaoyu and her teammates were all dumbfounded. Damn it. Was a legendary creature meant to be eaten? But they clearly heard Han Fei say that they should improve the food just now. Is this what he meant by improving the food? Seeing Han Fei's reaction, he Xiaoyu immediately said, Okay, don't take anything out. If you bring out such a powerful creature, who can eat it? At this moment, he Xiaoyu was not as nervous as she was at the beginning. After all, with some time as a buffer, he Xiaoyu simply cleaned up. Her hair was no longer messy, and her face was no longer covered. Zhou Ling said, Let's heal Xiaoyu first. Speaking of healing, Han Fei said solemnly, He Xiaoyu, what happened to you? There are too many wounds in your body that have seriously damaged your foundation. Did you try to become a law enforcer recently? But you failed, didn't you? Huh? Even Zhou Ling was surprised. Xiaoyu, you tried to become a law enforcer. The other teammates all looked at He Xiaoyu in surprise, thinking, why didn't we know? He Xiaoyu gritted her teeth and slightly turned her head to one side. Han Fei helplessly smiled and said casually, that's not how you become stronger. Experts polish their foundation step by step and slowly become stronger. He Xiaoyu subconsciously retorted, nonsense. You're very fast. Han Fei was speechless. Even her teammates were a little speechless. They thought to themselves, Captain, you have to be more careful. He's someone who can become the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Why don't you compare yourself to him? Why do you have to compare yourself to the supreme commander? Han Fei, on the other hand, grinned. Okay, sit up straight. I'll wash the internal wounds in your body first and wash away the accumulated toxins. With that said, Han Fei looked at the others and said, you'd better sit down cross-legged too. My healing technique is not weak, and it should affect you. If you can absorb it, you can also try. They were overjoyed to hear this. Thank you, General Han. Meow. Wait a minute. All of a sudden, Big Yellow shouted and quickly meowed. As a result, the cat boy and the cat girl who had just run away rushed back with a swish. They all squatted aside and looked at Han Fei eagerly. Han Fei. Chapter 1398. The apocalyptic divine technique consumed vitality. It wasn't difficult to cleanse He Xiaoyu's body, so it was normal for other people to benefit from it. After all, Han Fei had already become a real powerhouse today. Seeing this, Han Fei said, fine. Little Nine, you can join us too. Even your growth is too fast, and the polishing of your innate root is still a little lacking. Even when the old turtle possessed Gue Sanqing, he had to use the apocalyptic divine technique to cleanse his old wounds and improve his physique. He was a half-venerable expert. How could it be difficult for Zhou Ling and the others? Zhou Ling said in surprise, we're not hurt. Han Fei said with a smile, that's fine. The technique I'm going to use will probably clean up the old wounds, hidden diseases, and damaged bones in your bodies. Han Fei's body was enshrouded in white light, and then he shouted in a low voice, sit tight. Nobody dared to neglect him, and He Xiaoyu was so nervous that she didn't dare to move. Even Big Yellow used its paw to slap one of its sons, which did not sit properly, and it sat down too. Suddenly, above the Empyrean waterfall, a milky beam of light suddenly descended. He Xiaoyu's small courtyard was instantly drowned by the white mist. Ah! Meow! Almost everyone's spirit was shaken, as if they had fallen into the gentle healing spring water. Their strength was returning, their flesh and blood were being cleansed, their meridians were being unblocked, and their old injuries were being flushed out by the white mist. They were completely healed. Immediately, everyone at the Empyrean waterfall looked at the courtyard where He Xiaoyu was. However, as soon as Han Fei stepped on it, the courtyard was instantly covered by the mist, and the scene inside could not be seen by the outside world. However, Han Fei's array could block the people at the Empyrean waterfall, but not the venerable realm experts. Immediately, a few venerables scanned over. However, Han Fei was very tough. With a shake of his soul, those senses that scanned over were immediately shattered. Han Fei didn't give these people any face but said bluntly, now that I'm the commander, do I need you to check on such a trivial matter? In terms of toughness, Shuexinqi and Han Fei were of the same origin. Sun Baixing secretly cursed, Han Fei is really arrogant. Ye Kai snorted and said, right now, his reputation is at its peak. It's not a good time to target him. Yang Kun said angrily, luckily, we're not in the Thousand-Star City. Otherwise, I'd kill him. But if he said this in front of Han Fei would probably retort back at him. Look at how capable the Yang clan is. If you had the ability to split me apart, why did you do it earlier? Chu Qing did not say a word and responded coldly. He thought to himself, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. You want to fight for the throne? Are you even worthy? Unlike the people from the aristocratic families, the people from the 7 great sects also tried to spy on them, but their senses were also cut off. However, no one was stupid. A pillar of light descended. How could such a pure and holy light really be nothing? That pillar of light was filled with the power of the great Tao. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Everyone, including Zhou Ling, was enshrouded in a milky white halo. The difference was that this pillar of light mainly shone on He Xiaoyu, so she suffered the most, followed by Zhou Ling, who was deliberately dispersed by Han Fei. After about 10 seconds, the pillar of light began to fade. 30 seconds later, the pillar of light completely disappeared. However, everyone was still covered in a layer of white mist. Han Fei looked at He Xiaoyu's teammates. These people were even weaker, and a trace of the power they emitted was enough to heal them. Han Fei said, "The old injuries in your bodies have been cleaned up. My suggestion is that you can practice body tempering techniques in a short time. Because the foundation in your bodies has been cleansed by me, you'll get twice the result with half the effort during this period." Then Han Fei looked at Zhou Ling and said, "You too. You have to go through a tribulation. Your physique is not enough now. I'll give you the body tempering technique later." "Okay." Zhou Ling nodded softly. She felt that she was even lighter. Han Fei's technique was really amazing. It could even cleanse the foundation. Kacha! Suddenly, a crisp cracking sound came from He Xiaoyu's body. However, He Xiaoyu was already a peak-level hidden fisher. If she made another breakthrough, she would become a law enforcer. This was obviously not a breakthrough. While everyone was puzzled, Han Fei said casually, "The level of your spiritual heritage has increased. He Xiaoyu, did you eat any special heavenly materials and earthly treasures?" After a few seconds, He Xiaoyu suddenly came back to herself and looked at Han Fei in confusion. "Huh?" The manipulator next to her reminded, "Captain, your spiritual heritage has made a breakthrough." Spiritual heritage. He Xiaoyu quickly said, "Oh. Once, in a mystic realm, some special power entered my body and raised my spirit meridian." Han Fei nodded slightly. "That's right. It's not that this power can't improve you, but that your foundation is too damaged, which hinders the improvement of your spiritual heritage. If nothing goes wrong, the moment this power is activated, it should be able to raise your cultivation by 1 or 2 minor levels. Even though it won't reach the 6th level, it won't be too bad." He Xiaoyu's eyes lit up when she heard that she could still improve. She was about to stand up happily, but when she looked down, she found that her legs still hadn't grown back. He Xiaoyu couldn't help but turn pale. Is it useless? Even such a powerful healing technique can't regenerate limbs? He Xiaoyu's teammates panicked too. It was impossible. Didn't they say that a venerable could regenerate broken limbs? Zhou Ling was also surprised. Can't it? Big Yellow, on the other hand, stuffed all the cat children into his mouth and said, "What's the hurry? This is a great technique to repair the foundation. It's more difficult than the limb regenerate technique." Han Fei grinned. It seemed that Big Yellow had seen a lot after following Granny Yin for so long. Han Fei had learned the limb regenerate technique, and because it was a life-saving technique, he pushed it all the way to the heaven level, divine quality level. Information popped up in his head. Holy Light Guardian, heaven level, divine quality, introduction. There is light in the world, which is called the healing divine light. The divine light connects with the origin of the void, nurtures billions of creatures, and gives all things the foundation of recovery. The divine light melts with the soul and intertwines with the flesh and blood. With energy as the foundation, it can regenerate limbs and summon souls. Healing range, vitality still exists. The consumption varies depending on the degree of injury. Derived art, grand resurrection art, spiritual energy consumption, 1 billion points. Note, if you have excess energy, you can condense a holy light guardian to keep you company. Han Fei couldn't help but be amazed by the allure of the great path of heavenly enlightenment. If his guess was correct, if he deduced it further, it would be the resurrection technique. Although it wouldn't be as exaggerated, it was definitely not simple. The last remark said that it could condense a guardian. That was the scariest part. It could even store holy light. Han Fei said, Big Yellow is right. Repairing the foundation is repairing the foundation, and regrowing limbs is not. They're two different things. Han Fei waved his hand, and 4 lines of holy light appeared around He Xiaoyu like snakes, gathering energy into He Xiaoyu's body. Han Fei took out a spiritual fruit that was still warm from the Empyrean waterfall and said, the regrowth of broken limbs is mainly about energy. If you have enough energy and healing light, you can regrow your limbs with your own blood and qi. Although theoretically, there won't be any problems after you're reborn, you still need to cultivate for a few days to see the effect. As Han Fei spoke, he saw that bones extended from He Xiaoyu's legs, and her flesh and blood intertwined. Under the concentration of energy, her legs were growing at a visible speed. Gudu. The spirit gatherer in He Xiaoyu's team was drooling. What a spirit gatherer! This is what a spirit gatherer is. It's really amazing. If all spirit gatherers could do this, the casualty rate of human beings would be reduced by at least 10%. He Xiaoyu was also shocked. Was there any more amazing feeling than watching her own flesh and blood being regenerated? Huh? Han Fei was slightly surprised. He found that a heaven-level ultra-quality energy fruit was not enough. Although the energy contained in this energy fruit was not as good as the immeasurable fruit that the Life Queen gave him, it was still enough. The energy contained in this energy fruit was definitely 1% of the immeasurable fruit. For someone at He Xiaoyu's level, it was more than enough. However, Han Fei immediately understood that He Xiaoyu had practiced the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies to the extreme and had already mastered it. Han Fei took out another energy fruit. At this moment, He Xiaoyu's 2 leg bones had grown, and her flesh and meridians had already taken shape. With another energy fruit, she would be fine. Han Fei said casually, the body refining techniques that can be bought on the Scattered Stars Island are actually not that good. I have a jade slip here, which is the follow-up of the spirit-absorbing war body. You can practice it. As for the spirit-absorbing war body, you can teach it to others as long as you have a good foundation. He Xiaoyu immediately gritted her teeth. Han Fei must have noticed that her body refining technique had not made any progress. After searching the entire Scattered Stars Island, she couldn't find a body refining technique better than the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies. However, He Xiaoyu didn't refuse. As long as she could become stronger, as long as she could stand to a higher height one day in the future, why not? Seeing He Xiaoyu take the jade slip, Han Fei's hand shone with holy light, and energy gathered. An earring, a bracelet, and a bell appeared. He handed the earring to Jiuyin Ling and said, you can wear it daily. If you need to regrow your limbs, you can use it. In the future, you must practice this technique again. When you have mastered this technique, you can go through the tribulation. Jiuyin Ling smiled lightly. Okay. He handed the bracelet to He Xiaoyu. It's about the same. Put it away. At least it can save your life. Finally, Han Fei threw the bell to Big Yellow. And yours. Meow, of course, other people didn't have it. He gave it to Big Yellow because Big Yellow was from the beast tribe. He was also the only pure beast tribe living being he had seen in the entire Yin-Yang heaven. With a thought, Han Fei found that many people of the Empyrean waterfall were already standing at the door, on the roof, and in every corner, looking at He Xiaoyu's home. Alas, Han Fei heaved a long sigh and then grinned. Hey you, barbecue and hot pot. After this meal, I have to go back to work. Chapter 1399. Although Han Fei was quite a troublemaker himself, in other people's eyes, he was the marshal now. But in the eyes of others, he was now a general. Because he was powerful, he had a certain dignity. Therefore, this meal wasn't very lively. It was mainly because other people couldn't bear the terrifying energy of the heavenly spirit ray after taking a few bites. Their bodies were throbbing, and their auras were rising slightly. He Xiaoyu's legs had just grown back, and the boulder hanging in her heart was immediately relieved. If she had lost her legs, she would have died. She didn't know what to do, but it also annoyed her that Han Fei was getting stronger and stronger. Not to mention herself, even Jiu Ling was left far behind. Han Fei couldn't help but think that Xia Xiaochan couldn't keep up with Han Fei's cultivation speed, could she? Some of Han Fei's deeds had long been spread throughout the scattered stars island, so she knew that Han Fei forced himself into the sea and killed the Dark Hunter Legion twice. Because of Xia Xiaochan's disappearance, He Xiaoyu knew that cultivation was not easy and there were too many dangers in this world. Only the one who walked to the end was truly qualified. She didn't want to cultivate the fastest, but she wanted to walk the most steadily. He Xiaoyu didn't eat much fish. She probably didn't eat much, but she pretended to be cultivating. Only Jiu Ling said casually, "Are you going to take over the position?" Han Fei nodded slightly. The succession of the old and the new is always going to take a while. Jiu Ling sighed softly. "Actually, I don't want you to be the marshal. The overall strength of the sea demons has suddenly become much stronger. There are more and more sea spirits, and a lot of explorers have appeared, forcing all the hidden experts on the Scattered Stars Island to come out. You've killed 2 venerables. It's not hard to imagine how many more." Han Fei nodded. "I'll kill as many as they come, but you have to focus on your cultivation in the future." Han Fei was implying that he probably wouldn't appear in the Empyrean waterfall or meet Jiu Ling for a while. Han Fei didn't want to think too much about love. Especially at such a critical moment, he had no time to think about it. Under Jiu Ling's gentle gaze, Han Fei stepped through the void and crossed 100 kilometers away. The moment Han Fei appeared, several senses immediately swept over, and all of them belonged to venerable realm experts who had already arrived. Han Fei sneered and ignored these people. Instead, he chanted in a low voice, which sounded like thunder exploding over the entire Scattered Stars Island. "I'm Han Fei. Tomorrow morning, in the Sea God Square outside the central city, I will officially take over the position of the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Listen to my orders. All the heads of the various departments are to lead the non-staying personnel to the scene. No delays." Han Fei's voice reverberated in the air and could be heard by the entire Scattered Stars Island. Originally, it was only the soldiers who returned from the Sea of Pearls who claimed that Han Fei was the Supreme Commander. It immediately set off a heated discussion. At this moment, Han Fei confirmed this matter in person, and Xue Xinqi didn't refute it. It seemed that this matter was confirmed. For a time, all the departments of the Scattered Stars Island were discussing heatedly, especially the refining hall. A refiner burst into laughter. "Look, what did I tell you? When General Han built the Faiyanmu furnace, I felt that General Han was extraordinary and had the demeanor of a general. In just a few years, Han Fei succeeded to the position of Marshal Xue." A waiter said, "You may not believe it, but when General Han refined weapons, I attracted customers. No one can match our wonderful cooperation." Someone held up the Spirit Fusing Scripture, Spirit Polishing Scripture, and Spirit Enhancement Scripture. The 3 heaven-level refining techniques were sold for free, which showed how extraordinary General Han was. As soon as these 3 scriptures were released, the spiritual energy refining methods were pushed to the peak, and most importantly, they were free. This was something only a general commander could do. Someone chimed in, "I heard that it was General Han who suppressed the price of spirit weapons in the artifact forging hall in one go." Someone sneered. Of course. As soon as the Faiyanmu furnace was released, the price of semi-divine weapons plummeted. How could the price of spiritual weapons not fall? Someone was also suspicious. Isn't it said that the Faiyanmu furnace was created by Han Fei, Guan Qingyan, and Mu Jia? Why didn't they mention anything about Guan Qingyan and Mu Jia? Someone laughed. What do you know? Guan Qingyan himself admitted that when he forged the Faiyanmu furnace, they just assisted him from the side. It was all designed by General Han alone. Scattered Stars Prison. Hearing Han Fei's announcement, Zhang Ting couldn't help but say leisurely, "I never thought that it would only take Long Ting 10 years. Is this what a talented general is like? Behind him, Sumo said, Boss, Han Fei won't come back to make trouble for us, will he? Zhang Ting sneered. What are you thinking? How can a talented general take such a trifle to heart? Besides, we also acted according to the rules at the beginning. There was nothing wrong with it. I'm just sighing with emotion. Tactical Command Center. Someone shouted sternly, find out all the information about Han Fei. After a while, someone handed over a jade slip and said, Sir, it's all here. The man took the jade slip, flipped through it casually, and snorted. Why did such a person become the supreme commander? Selfish, greedy, ostentatious, overconfident, boastful. Someone echoed, yes, Han Fei really doesn't have many military merits. Although he has won a few beautiful battles, it's too few. Someone said, I don't believe it. If such a person leads the Scattered Stars Island, wouldn't it be a mess? At this moment, the entire Scattered Stars Island, millions of people, from the leaders of the divisions to the new recruits, were discussing Han Fei's name. Some people agreed that strength was the hard truth. Han Fei had killed 2 of them in a row, which was very extraordinary. Some people weren't optimistic about him, thinking that the position of the Supreme Commander didn't necessarily mean that he had a strong combat power, but also that he had to have a brain and the ability to control the battlefield. For a while, there were different opinions, but most people were ready to go to the Sea God Square outside the central city the next day. In any case, this was a century-old event, and it would be a pity if they didn't go. The Scattered Stars 7th Unit. Among them, the 4th Unit could be said to be an extremely popular department at this moment. Beihua, Guan Qingyan, and the others were assessing 3 refiners who applied to come here. At this moment, Guan Qingyan shook his head slightly. None of them. Mu Jia also shook her head. Although they are much stronger than ordinary people, they are not qualified to join the Scattered Stars 4th Unit. Beihua smiled in agreement. After seeing them off, he said slowly, in fact, there aren't many people who can really settle down and focus on refining now that the flames of war are raging. This batch is already the best we've seen in the past 6 months. Guan Qingyan shook his head. Not good. The Scattered Stars 4th Unit would rather have nothing than a shoddy product. With Brother Han's 3 scriptures, his refining level is still so low. He definitely can't join the Scattered Stars 4th Unit. Mu Jia also nodded. Hey! That guy didn't even come back to visit us when he came back. He must have forgotten us when he became a general. Mu Jia also didn't compare herself with Han Fei. It turned out that Han Fei was a monster. Why should she compare her talent with a monster? At this moment, the door of the Scattered Stars 4th Unit opened, and a voice came leisurely. Oh, why do you think I am such a person? In an instant, everyone turned their heads around. Guan Qingyan's eyes lit up. Brother Han. Mu Jia was shocked. Ah! You're back. You're about to take over the position of the general. Why do you have time to come here? Beihua said, Han. General Han. Han Fei said with a smile, Senior Beihua, please don't be so polite. Then, Han Fei said to Mu Jia helplessly, that's not what you said last time. Mu Jia blushed. Humph. Did I say that? I didn't say anything bad about you. Guan Qingyan, don't you think so? There was still a faint layer of frost on Guan Qingyan's face, and his face was still stiff and indifferent. Although Mu Jia was joking, she was right. Why did Han Fei have time to come to the Scattered Stars 4th Unit? Guan Qingyan immediately said, Brother Han, what's the matter? Everyone immediately realized that Han Fei must have come here for something. They couldn't help but become solemn. The situation on the Scattered Stars Island was turbulent. If there was something important, it couldn't be delayed any longer. Han Fei put his arm around Guan Qingyan's shoulder with a smile. Can't I come back for a visit? Seeing that Guan Qingyan was still looking at him quietly, Han Fei immediately shrugged. Okay. I really don't know how Mu Jia can stand you. You look so serious every day. Okay, let's get down to business. After he came out of the Scattered Stars' fourth unit, it was already the next morning, and darkness had already enveloped the earth and the sea. Han Fei scanned with his perception and quickly confirmed a place. Then, he concealed his aura and stepped over. After passing the door, the underground passage, and the earth elevator, Han Fei came to a thatched cottage. This was exactly the Scattered Stars archive room that he had the honor of visiting once before. As soon as Han Fei arrived here, he heard a voice coming from the cottage. General Han, why are you here so late at night? Han Fei wanted to directly scan this place with his perception, but his fingers moved slightly and he calculated with his fingers. It seemed inappropriate. The person inside must be very strong. Han Fei frowned. That elder Qin here must be a hidden expert. The old turtle said directly, I am an old venerable, but I was seriously injured and have been cultivating here. Han Fei frowned. The old turtle's soul power was extraordinary. He could even hide in front of a king. It was not difficult for him to find a venerable at this moment. Han Fei immediately said, Elder Chen, I want an old file. Oh. What are you looking for, General Han? Han Fei said resolutely, all the information about Tang Yan, the highest commander of the Scattered Stars Island 1,800 years ago. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1400. The next morning, the sky was clear, and the lonely cry of the cloud whale could occasionally be heard from the depths of the clouds. On the Sea God Square outside the central city of the Scattered Stars Island. As early as the first glimmer of dawn, this place was already packed to the brim. The flat square, which was more than 10 kilometers long and wide, seemed too small at this moment. Fortunately, the sea around the Scattered Stars Island had to be guarded day and night. This was a delicate moment when the war was tense, and the coastal defense line had to be defended by a large number of people. Therefore, only half of the people who were present today were present at most. But even so, the 5 cities were all empty, and the noise outside the central city stretched for dozens of kilometers. It was like a speech. Without the leader, the people below were naturally talking about all kinds of things. Someone said, I think this is the time when the situation is critical. Even if they want to change the commander, they shouldn't do it at this time. After all, Han Fei is not very familiar with the various defenses of the Scattered Stars Island. Someone retorted, what are you afraid of? No matter who it is, they're just fighting with sea demons. Han Fei is obviously strong. Someone said, Han Fei is indeed very strong. He killed 2 Dao-seeking state demons in a row. Do you know what that means? I heard that more than a dozen Dao-seeking state demons have been killed by Han Fei. Who else on the island can do that? Someone rolled his eyes. What do you know? Those who only know how to fight are boorish men. They're brainless. Someone sneered, you're the brainless one. If Han Fei is brainless, will General Shueishenqi let Han Fei succeed? Why doesn't he use his brain? Just as the crowd was discussing spiritedly, another voice suddenly rang out from somewhere in the crowd. Someone said, how can Han Fei take over the position of the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island? I heard that Han Fei has a strong background. His father is a venerable. He forced General Shueishenqi to abdicate, or he would slaughter the Scattered Stars Island. Immediately, people exclaimed one after another. Someone cried out involuntarily, it can't be, right? It seemed that in order to prevent others from eavesdropping, most people even used voice transmissions, thinking that there were millions of people here anyway. Someone also said, do you know, Han Fei is from the Thug Academy. That academy once prepared to activate a taboo, causing the entire human race to be in trouble. Huh? Someone asked, what taboo could cause the entire human race to fall into such a predicament? The man shrugged. How would I know? I just heard it from someone. While millions of people were discussing, Han Fei and Shueishenqi stood side by side in the void. Shueishenqi said casually, if you want to control the Scattered Stars Island, you have to control people's hearts first. You clearly know that it's the work of the aristocratic families, but you're just watching. Han Fei sneered. Watch? Do I really need time to prove that I am here to save the human race? No, I have my way, and my way does not allow me to do this. Shueishenqi glanced at Han Fei casually. You are different from your father. You are one of the few hardliners among the commanders of the Scattered Stars Island. You don't want the situation on the Scattered Stars Island to last long, but the Scattered Stars Island is limited by the terrain, and the 10,000 Demon Valley is very far away. Not to mention the army setting out, the continuous naval battles along the way will exhaust a lot of people. Han Fei said, we are indeed different, but it's not because of our different attitudes toward war. What I want is internal unity. I never expect ordinary people to follow me into the deep sea. That would be too stupid. Just like now, I have succeeded as the Supreme Commander, and the general trend has been set. However, those idiots from the big families think that they can stop me from succeeding with some rumors. I really don't know if their brains have been hit by an iron-headed fish. When he said this, Han Fei didn't use a voice transmission at all but just said it out loud. Since he had already spoken, how could it not be heard by others? Han Fei sneered. You still don't know me after all. Han Fei took a step forward and walked to the sea god square step by step in the sky above the central city. Silence. Han Fei stood proudly, his body glowing with golden light. Under the sunlight, a golden giant more than 20 meters tall, like a golden armored god of war stepping from the sky, was walking towards the crowd step by step. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. With a thought, his spiritual fire suddenly rose. Whoop! Above the distant sky, under the feet of the golden giant, golden lotuses bloomed one after another. Bam, 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 a lotus flower with every step, it could be described as a lotus blossoming with every step. The lotuses bloomed and finally turned into spiritual energy again, disappearing between heaven and earth. Han Fei walked forward and spoke. His voice was deep and heavy, and his voice spread throughout the entire Scattered Stars Island. Even the personnel guarding at the edge of the coastline couldn't help but look at the sky at this moment, saying excitedly, it's starting, it's starting. On the sea god square, under the attention of everyone. Many strong masters couldn't help but smile when they saw Han Fei's lotus flowers appearing with every step he took. What's so difficult about this? It's as if no one can do it. Some people couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. This way of entering the stage is creative. It looks very scary. In fact, everyone who was an explorer was stunned. They thought to themselves, is this what a fucking powerhouse looks like? A lotus flower appearing with every step. That lotus flower could crush a lot of them, right? Han Fei said jokingly, General Shueishenqi, if you don't show up, I won't dare to take over this position. Crack. A big sword fell from the sky. The sword was 100 meters high and looked extraordinary. In terms of size, Shueishenqi was much better. But in terms of creativity and shocking means, Han Fei was naturally the winner. Shueishenqi said, I've already told you about it yesterday. There are many talents on the Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei is talented and tough. Recently, he has killed 2 masters. In terms of means and ability, he is not inferior to me. Today, I changed the stage for the sake of the human clan. Perhaps my method was wrong, which made the sea demons more rampant and fiercer. I hope Han Fei can change this situation. Shueishenqi looked at the millions of people in the field and said in a loud voice, you should have heard of Han Fei's achievements. The Fei Yanmu furnace has raised the quality of the weapons in your hands by a level, allowing the art of refining to enter a new era. After careful consideration, Han Fei's realm, strength, means, and wisdom are all outstanding among his peers. He may take over the position of the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars City. With that, Shueishenqi waved his hand and the sky curtain bloomed. Under the sky curtain, the whole island could see this scene. In the picture, Shueishenqi handed a 13-star token to Han Fei. Wait a minute. As soon as the handover ceremony began, a voice echoed between heaven and earth. Judging from the voice, it was Chu Qing of the Chu sect. This person stepped through the void and came to stop him. Shueishenqi frowned. If the Chu sect wants to intervene in the affairs of the Scattered Stars Island, don't blame me for being rude. Chu Qing smiled. General Shui, don't worry. It's not that we don't trust you, but we don't trust Han Fei and the people behind Han Fei. Chu Qing didn't come to fight, so he appeared in front of Shueishenqi and the others at a height of 1,000 meters. Shueishenqi shouted in a low voice, "The Thousand-Star City has no right to intervene in the affairs of the Scattered Stars Island." I'll say it again. Get out of the way. Chu Qing didn't give in at all. He just chuckled and his voice spread throughout the island. Han Fei is from the Thug Academy, a vicious demonic organization. The patriarch of the Thug Academy is an undead creature and has long been demonized. More than 10 years ago, he led countless evil forces to attack the Thousand-Star City but failed. Han Fei, let me ask you, is this true? You just need to answer yes or no. With a faint smile on his face, Han Fei looked at Chu Qing. If it were someone else, such as an upright person like Shueishenqi, an obedient person like Zhou Yinling, or a hot-tempered person like old Jiang, they might have started a fight. However, there were millions of people present. How could a venerable take action? Otherwise, how many people would be killed? At this moment, facing Chu Qing's question, how could Han Fei answer Chu Qing's question? Han Fei said leisurely, "Bullshit." The audience was in an uproar. Was Han Fei so polite? Although everyone talked like this in private, it seemed very inappropriate to say it in front of so many people. Chu Qing seemed to want to see Han Fei fly into a rage out of humiliation. If you don't even look like a general and can't even take a little stimulation, how can you be a general? But Han Fei continued, the Chu sect of the Thousand-Star City dominates a region. The soldiers on the front line barely survive, but you exploit the resources of the Scattered Stars Island all year round. As a result, there are countless venerables hidden in the clan, and there are even several demi-king realm masters. However, when the human race was in trouble and suffered heavy casualties, none of you came to help. Now, only you, a mere mid-level venerable, came, but you want to seize power and seek more resources from the millions of soldiers. Let me ask you, why the fuck do you think you can do this? Why do all the big families in the Thousand-Star City have to do this? Immediately, the millions of people present exclaimed. They had never heard of the Chu sect of the Thousand-Star City. Some people from the Thousand-Star City naturally knew about the Chu sect. Hearing Han Fei's words, they were indignant. This was how people were. No matter where they were, they would always hate the rich. Besides, the big families of the world didn't give a very good impression. Chu Qing's face changed slightly. Han Fei, don't try to avoid the question. The Thug Patriarch of the Thug Academy is an undead creature. Do you dare to deny this? Han Fei immediately smiled. The Thug Patriarch? Sorry, I don't know the Thug Patriarch. He should have been dead for thousands of years. As everyone knows, the Thug Academy was strangled by the Thousand-Star City decades ago, and only a few old soldiers are left. If the Thug Patriarch is here, with his ability to suppress the Thousand-Star City alone, do you dare to fight us? You're a venerable. Are you retarded? Chu Qing's eyelids twitched. Is Han Fei shameless? He just said he didn't know the Thug Patriarch. Chu Qing asked, do you dare to swear to the Great Tao? Han Fei blinked. I can swear at any time. However, the Chu sect of the Thousand-Star City has been exploiting the resources of the Scattered Stars Island year after year, but the frontline soldiers have no resources to use. Do you dare to swear to the Great Tao? Tens of millions of years ago, the Chu sect and the big families of the Thousand-Star City sneak attacked the strong masters of the Nine Heavens, angering the Great Tao, causing the Great Tao to look at the human world, resulting in no more kings in the human world. Do you dare to swear to the Great Tao? Do you dare? The third update is being written, second update. Asking for votes. The third update is being written, a little later, end of this chapter. Chapter 1401. Compared with these strong masters in the Thousand-Star City, Han Fei had experienced everything from the bottom, especially in the Ideal Palace. He and the people on the Avengers had been wandering on the sea for decades. What hadn't they experienced? At that time, the population of the City of Hope was much larger than that of the Scattered Stars Island, but didn't he still rule it? Didn't the big families stop him at that time? But they all came here. As for the thug patriarch that Chu Qing mentioned, Han Fei thought to himself, I don't recognize him. That's my junior uncle Faceless, Immortal Li. What does it have to do with the thug patriarch? The thug patriarch was just a title. He had been poisoned to death. Now I'm an undead creature. But compared with the history of the Thug Academy, the big families were simply indescribable. In front of these millions of people, Han Fei wasn't worried that Chu Qing would take action anyway, so he just smiled gently. Look, this is the big families of the Thousand-Star City. A group of venerables in the Thousand-Star City watched us die and refused to help. You worked hard to collect resources on the coastline, killing sea demons, and searching for sea-swallowing seashells. In the end, the refining hall, the alchemy workshop, and many other places refined excellent weapons, but you couldn't use them. They were all taken by these bastards. How can you tolerate that? Han Fei, shut up. You're slandering the Chu sect and the other clans. Who? Han Fei roared in a low voice. Shut up. Now I'm the commander. Who do you think you are? How dare you be so presumptuous here? Either you swear by the Great Tao, or you shut your mouth. Otherwise, go back to your Thousand-Star City. Han Fei's voice was magical, shaking the surroundings and making the blood of countless people boil. The people present were not stupid. Who didn't know that the big families were rich? Now they came to stop Han Fei, only to be exposed. How shameful. However, although the big families were not good, they didn't think Han Fei was a good person at this moment. Because Han Fei really didn't win any earth-shattering battles for the Scattered Stars Island. In the 2 battles of killing the Venerables, Han Fei did save countless lives. But the problem was that Han Fei won too easily, and the frequency of his victories was too high, and he took over the position of the Supreme Commander too quickly. It was inevitable that people couldn't accept it immediately. At this moment, Chu Qing's face turned red after being scolded by Han Fei. He really wanted to kill Han Fei. However, just like Han Fei didn't dare to attack, he didn't dare to attack either. If anyone dared to attack at this moment and caused even one casualty, they would become a great enemy of the entire Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei looked fierce. You said that I, Han Fei, can't take over the position of the Supreme Commander. May I ask if this Fianmu stove was made by the Chu sect? May I ask if this sea race venerable belongs to the Chu clan? If I may ask, have you killed a single sea demon since you entered the Scattered Stars Island? You haven't even killed a fucking king worm. How dare you think I'm not qualified to be the marshal? Chu Qing calmed down a little. He had come out in a hurry. In this case, Han Fei might not be able to stop him with his foundation. It was not that he couldn't ask, but everyone knew that the aristocratic families would exploit others, so this exploitation would be regarded as tacit consent. If he wasn't asked, he would be scolded at most. But Han Fei was different. Han Fei had become well known on the Scattered Stars Island and had made great achievements. Now he was equivalent to the new Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. His words carried a lot of weight. Compared with his identity as a venerable, Han Fei's words carried a lot of weight. Chu Qing immediately had a thought. Suddenly, he saw a beginner explorer fly into the sky and shout, "Please forgive me for overstepping my bounds. I'm Tian Heng, the Minister of the Tactical Command Center." Han Fei's face changed slightly. He was about to take the next step, but this person jumped out and interrupted him. He was definitely not a good person. At that time, he remembered the name Tianheng. Even if I can't kill you now, I'll definitely kill you later. Xue Shenqi narrowed his eyes. Is this Tianheng from an aristocratic family? Xue Shenqi said casually, Tianheng, if you have something to say, just say it, but you have to know the context and the authenticity of what you say. Tianheng shouted, don't worry, General Xue. I have my own principles. Han Fei was born on a small island in the Heavenly Water Village in the Blue Sea town of the 36 towns. Before the age of 12, his aptitude was extremely poor. After the age of 12, he suddenly became talented and accumulated a lot of experience. After that, he was admitted to the Thug Academy, and his cultivation path was smooth. However, according to all the information I have, there is an invisible hand behind the scenes promoting this matter. Therefore, it is said that Han Fei's father is a venerable and forced General Xue to abdicate. I think this is very likely. This matter has to be investigated from the ancient battlefield. Tianheng was also a bold man. After collecting a lot of information, he finally came to the conclusion, there is a very strong boss behind Han Fei, even among the venerables. However, Tianheng didn't say who it was. No one knew whether he didn't find out or he deliberately didn't say it. Tianheng said, although Han Fei has made great contributions to the Scattered Stars Island. But with all his achievements and his current character, he is not worthy of the position of the commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Therefore, the Tactical Command Center fully opposes Han Fei taking over as the Supreme Commander. At this time, Chu Qing snorted coldly. What is the person behind Han Fei's conspiracy? Is it to destroy the human race? The entire Scattered Stars Island was dumbfounded by this debate. It was as if they were watching a drama. It was horrifying to think about it. On the Scattered Stars Island, Big Yellow, Zhou Yinling, and He Xiaoyu were indignant. Someone shouted, bastards, none of those big families in the Thousand-Star City are good people. Big Yellow meowed. These people should be killed. Han Fei is a good man. He can cook and send kittens to me. In other places, there were many comments. Someone said, now it seems that Han Fei doesn't look like a good person either. Someone sighed. Then why did General Xue pass the position to him? Could it be that he was really threatened? While millions of people were deep in thought and discussion, a group of 100 people suddenly rose to the sky. They were led by Beihua, the leader of the Scattered Stars 4th Unit. Beihua roared, Tianheng, don't bother with the investigation. Everyone has their own secrets. Among the millions of people, there are far more than 1 or 2 people who have secrets. How many weaklings can come to the Scattered Stars Island? Next to Beihua, an old man shouted, I'm Yu Su, a 5-star refiner. A middle-aged man shouted, I'm Li Yunfei, the leader of the refining hall in the central city. Beihua roared, everyone in the refining hall knows very well that the Fianmu furnace has made great contributions. The creation of the Fianmu furnace has revolutionized the refining methods of billions of people in the Thousand-Star City and the 36 towns. Isn't this blessing more important than the stuff investigated by the Tactical Command Center? Although we refiners are not strong enough, the birth of the Fianmu furnace is far more important than 1 or 2 big families. Immediately, the hundreds of respected 5-star refiners in the refining hall all shouted, we are willing to follow Han Fei as the commander. Tianheng was about to say something, when Han Fei's voice suddenly shook. No matter whether you think I'm qualified to be the commander or not, I'm already the commander. I showed you the ceremony, not for you to recognize and question me. Beihua, from today on, the Scattered Stars Island will cut off the supply of weapons and resources to the Thousand-Star City, and so will the Logistics Division. Those residents of the Thousand-Star City who want resources can come to the Scattered Stars Island to take turns. The 7 academies of the Thousand-Star City will arrange for students to come to the Scattered Stars Island in batches, and they will be treated the same as all the frontline soldiers. Everyone's life is their life, and no one is an exception. Immediately, the void trembled. Chu Qing, Yang Kun, Yi Kai, Sun Baisheng, and even the person who seemed to be hiding in the void all changed their expressions. Sure enough, They knew that there would be no benefits for Han Fei to take over the position of the commander of the Scattered Stars Island. At this time, the level 3 fishery couldn't be entered at all. It was the territory of the Faceless Man, and anyone they met there could be a Faceless Man. Once the mask was put on, the Faceless Man could be anyone, and they couldn't even be found. It cut off the possibility for the big families to gain experience and obtain resources. Last time, when the Thug Academy attacked the Thousand Star City, this level 3 fishery was also lost, and all the 100 dragon boats fell into the hands of the Faceless Man. The Venerables didn't dare to go to the lower world. Otherwise, with Han Guanshu's ability, who could stop him if he wanted to slaughter ordinary Venerables? But peak-level Venerables and even half-king Venerables didn't dare to go to the lower world. If they came down, their nest would be destroyed, and they wouldn't even have a place to cry. Now, Han Fei had directly cut off the channel for the Thousand Star City to obtain resources. How could the big family sit still? But before everyone was surprised, Han Fei continued, from today on, the soldiers on the island will have priority to use the best things that can help them improve their realm. At this time, Ye Kai, Yang Kun, and Sun Baixing all came out and couldn't sit still anymore. Ye Kai said to Han Fei via voice transmission, Han Fei, without the help of the big families, can you defend the Scattered Stars Island? Han Fei suddenly looked at Ye Kai. Or get out of here. No one will keep you here. Now you want to plead with me. But I don't care. If you have the guts, the Venerables of the big families can come to the Scattered Stars Island and kill me. Ye Kai was stunned. Who the fuck is pleading with you? Are you fucking making this up? However, ordinary people couldn't hear the Venerable's voice transmission and only thought that Ye Kai really pleaded with them. Immediately, even Chu Qing and the others wanted to tear him apart. Han Fei looked very righteous at this moment, and his voice was so loud that Ye Kai's body was trembling. He really wanted to kill Han Fei. Tian Heng wanted to speak again, but Han Fei didn't give him a chance. Han Fei shouted again, to be frank, I regard the big families as my enemies. If I take over the Scattered Stars Island, it's impossible for you to get a low-quality pearl from the Scattered Stars Island. The big families have exploited the human race for thousands of years, and the resources they have accumulated can only be described as astronomical. Do you think I don't know why you are on the Scattered Stars Island? You want to get benefits but don't want to participate in the war. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Immediately, Chu Qing had a bad feeling. What does Han Fei mean? Han Fei immediately shouted, his voice rolling like a tide, from today on, the Venerables of the Thousand Star City must stay on the Scattered Stars Island. First, they must send 1/3 of the explorers of their families to the front line to fight. Second, each family must subscribe to a certain amount of resources to be eligible to stay. The amount you subscribe to is based on me, and it can't be lower than mine. I have been fighting in the outer sea for more than 10 years and tried my best to get some resources. Now I'm donating all of them to the million soldiers on the Scattered Stars Island. No one had expected this scene, and it was impossible for anyone to think of it. What was the use of one person's resources on such a large Scattered Stars Island? However, Han Fei shouted, I'm donating 5 million caddies of spiritual spring. When they heard this number, the Venerables didn't take it seriously at all, thinking that Han Fei was too narrow-minded. Han Fei continued, that's right. Spiritual fruits, 50,000. Semi-divine weapon materials, 5 million caddies. Huh? Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. Damn, did you count it according to 10,000 caddies? The Venerables all turned pale. 5 million caddies of semi-divine weapon materials. Although these materials are not very valuable, they are worth far more than 5 million caddies of spiritual spring. And Han Fei was still going on, low-quality divine weapon materials, 1 million caddies. Medium-quality divine weapon materials, 500,000 caddies. High-quality divine weapon materials, 100,000 caddies. Heaven-level cultivation methods and combat skills, 102 books. These fucking low-quality, mid-quality, and high-quality materials really shocked the audience into silence. What does he mean? Are semi-divine weapons no longer valuable? Have divine weapon-level materials begun to be calculated according to 10,000 caddies? Also, are the heaven-level cultivation methods and combat skills real? Also, are these materials really given priority to the Scattered Stars Island? And these are the resources provided by Han Fei alone? Chu Qing and the others were dumbfounded. Although the total amount was still not much, wasn't this a bit too much? And the heaven-level cultivation methods? Are you kidding me? More than 100. But Han Fei didn't stop and continued, cultivation methods below the heaven level, 1,242 books. Han Fei thought for a while and said, that should be enough. Oh, I forgot one more thing. I can also provide 10 million caddies of spirit awakening fluid. Everyone. Chapter 1402. Not to mention Chu Qing and the others, even Jing was dumbfounded. Where the hell did you get millions of kilograms of spirit awakening fluid? On the Scattered Stars Island, those who could see Han Fei and those who couldn't. In short, every time Han Fei mentioned a resource, they would tremble in shock. Han Fei had said that he donated it to the millions of soldiers on the Scattered Stars Island. What was a donation? He gave it to them for free. That was a donation. Not to mention the resources that Han Fei was asking for from the big clans, the resources that Han Fei gave out had already shocked these millions of people. The Empyrean waterfall, meow, Big Yellow was shocked and meowed. Han Fei is too stingy. Millions of kilograms of spirit awakening fluid only for my children? No, I'm going to find him. Clatter. Zhou Ling knocked Big Yellow's head with one hand. Don't bother. What you want for your cat son and cat daughter is to improve their physique. Han Fei's resources are for millions of humans. You can't waste them at all. He Xiaoyu seemed to be used to Han Fei doing extraordinary things, so she was just excited. However, her teammates were all dumbfounded. The armorist sighed. General Han is so domineering. He insulted the venerables and demanded resources by force. He's so domineering. The manipulator covered her little face. I love it. I love it. General Han is really a hero. He's so rich. The spirit gatherer swallowed crazily. It turns out that a person can be so rich. He Xiaoyu spat. Continue to consolidate your cultivation. We'll return in 3 days. Outside the central city, on the Sea God Square. Under the gaze of millions of people, Han Fei immediately shouted, Scattered Stars Island, where is the commander of the logistics division? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. General Han, I'm here. Swish, an intermediate explorer, strode over. He was completely dumbfounded by what he heard just now. Han Fei said that it was the resources that he had accumulated for more than 10 years. At first, he scoffed at it. But now, he was overjoyed. All the resources were for his own use. On the first day that General Han took office, he offered such great benefits. How could he not be happy? Han Fei saw a chubby guy flying over. When he was on the Scattered Stars Island, he was still weak. He had seen some of the ordinary vice-captains. Generally, peak-level hidden fishers and law enforcers could take up the post. However, it was impossible for the leaders of every major clan to be weak. Otherwise, what would they do if something big happened? However, these people usually did not show themselves. After all, the Myriad Demon Valley was not strong in the past. Shueishenqi did not really want to completely destroy the Myriad Demon Valley. Instead, he was fighting a defensive battle in the name of training troops. At this moment, the Myriad Demon Valley was not what it used to be. The Scattered Stars Island certainly didn't want to lag behind. However, in comparison, the high-level forces of the Scattered Stars Island were still much weaker than those of the 10,000 Demon Valley. This person flew over and shouted, "This subordinate is the patrol inspector of the logistics division, Wang Lin. Greetings, General Han. Han Fei glanced at the man casually and shouted casually, Wang Lin, you will lead the commanders, deputy commanders, and important personnel of the 4 logistics regiments on the Scattered Stars Island to cross-check my assets and store them in batches. But if there are any mistakes, they will be punished by military law. Wang Lin shouted, Yes, General Han. If there is even the slightest mistake with this batch of resources, Wang Lin, will definitely take my own head. Han Fei said again, Wang Lin, remember what I said. If the shares subscribed by the big clans are 1 low-quality pearl less than mine, tell me. Wang Lin was speechless. What else could he do except to agree? Compared with the big clans, he was more interested in the resources in front of him. He had seen a lot of money. How many assets did Han Fei have? Of course, a lot, but not enough to make Wang Lin excited to the extent that he couldn't control himself. He didn't know how Shueishenqi selected him to be in this position. What really shocked Wang Lin was the amount of spirit awakening fluid Han Fei had. How many undersea smoke chung did Han Fei snatch? Even the Scattered Stars Island at its peak didn't have 10 million caddies of spirit awakening fluid. The annual consumption of spirit awakening fluid in the 36 towns and the 1,000-star city added up to 2 million caddies of spirit awakening fluid. Plus the daily exchange consumption of the Scattered Stars Island, the amount of spirit awakening fluid consumed a year was as high as 5 million caddies. Therefore, every year, they had to compete for the undersea chimneys. Han Fei casually threw out 2 years' worth of spirit awakening fluid. This amount was really amazing. But only the venerable powerhouses knew that spirit awakening fluid was nothing more than the assimilation of seawater, which was not a good thing. However, this was because their realm was different and their vision was different. Spirit awakening fluid was simply a treasure for those below the law enforcer realm. Han Fei thought to himself, it's just 10 million caddies, only 10 sea-swallowing seashells. I still have more than 90 on me. At this time, Han Fei looked at Tianheng. Humph, Tianheng, do you still think I'm greedy for money? Do I, Han Fei, deserve to be the commander-in-chief? Tianheng was already sweating. Fuck, is Han Fei crazy? Also, where the fuck did you get so much private wealth? Tianheng gritted his teeth. If Han Fei wanted to buy people's hearts with money, he had done it now. He could almost imagine what the millions of soldiers of the Scattered Stars Island would think if he donated such a huge amount of resources for free. He couldn't clearly point out Han Fei's problem. If he still forcibly blocked the way of the millions of soldiers, he would probably be torn to pieces by the eyes of these countless people. Tianheng gritted his teeth. I'm not talented, but I will always pay attention to this matter. Han Fei sneered. Do you think it's your turn to pay attention to it? The Tactical Command Center is responsible for tactical command, not supervision and judgment. My background will be investigated by the whole world. Just do your duty as a tactical commander. Then Han Fei shouted, Scattered Stars Prison, where is Zhang Teng? Yes. Zhang Teng rose into the air, bowed his head, and said, General Han. Han Fei nodded. Listen to my order. The Scattered Stars Island will set up a new department, called the Department of Supervision. You can investigate me and the soldiers. You can investigate everything on the Scattered Stars Island. As for the position of the prison warden of the Scattered Stars Prison, you will temporarily take over. Zhang Teng frowned. Fuck, why do you like me? This is a matter that will offend people. Son of a bitch, you must be holding a grudge against me. Zhang Teng braced himself and said, Yes, Zhang Teng. It seemed that Han Fei was very selfless. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, a department of the Scattered Stars Prison was specially set up to monitor the entire island. Besides, this new department was personally in charge of the big shots of the Scattered Stars Prison. Who wouldn't believe it? Tianheng's face turned blue and then red, and he could only retreat. Han Fei's move was really crazy. How could Zhang Teng be ordinary since he could control the Scattered Stars Prison? How could he have been in charge of the Scattered Stars Prison for so long? Han Fei answered all the questions raised by Tian Heng with just one move. When the doubts turned into suspicions, all that was left was a topic of gossip, which would become an extremely mysterious topic in the carnival shop, giving rise to all kinds of strange stories. After dismissing Tian Heng, Han Fei looked at Chu Qing and the others coldly and said unkindly, "Guys, please send someone back to inform the clans. If you can't get the resources within 3 days, please leave the Scattered Stars Island. Otherwise, go back to your Thousand Star City. In the future, the Scattered Stars Island will no longer have anything to do with the big clans of the Thousand Star City." Han Fei looked at Chu Qing with a smile, knowing that they wouldn't retreat. The remains of the kings were like the sea-quelling painting and the entrance to the divine palace. In their eyes, they were all extremely important, far more important than the so-called resources. Even if these big clans went back on their word and became public enemies, they would definitely take action. In this case, these resources had to be given. If they didn't, they would become the public enemy of the entire Scattered Stars Island and the 36 towns. After all, the supply of the Scattered Stars Island and the 36 towns would remain unchanged, and might even increase. Besides, once the Scattered Stars Island completely cut off the supply to the Thousand Star City, the resources that should have flowed into the Thousand Star City would all flow into the 36 towns. In the long run, the foundation of the 36 towns would only become stronger and stronger. The ordinary people of the Thousand Star City could still be selected to come to the Scattered Stars Island. Only the strength of the big clans would decline. Even the big clans had a lot of star beads in their hands. However, the star beads' secret realms were only suitable for exploration. How could they be as valuable as a place like the Scattered Stars Island? Yang Kun shouted, "Han Fei, if we leave and the sea demons attack again, you will be punished." "You? How can we resist them?" Because Ye Kai was tricked by Han Fei just now, Yang Kun didn't dare to send a voice transmission and directly said it out loud. However, the Yang family was simple-minded. So what if they were venerables? Han Fei had never taken them seriously. Han Fei's voice echoed between heaven and earth. The big clans don't make any contribution to the Scattered Stars Island. Yesterday, in the Battle of the Sea of Pearls, Sun Baixing failed to entangle the sea demon Venerable and almost caused immeasurable losses. What's the use of you if you can't do anything? Sun Baixing's face turned red. The enemy is powerful. It's normal that I failed to entangle him because I was careless. Han Fei suddenly burst into fury. Shut up. You almost killed tens of thousands of people because of your carelessness. Who dares to use you? The big clans in the Thousand Star City have many strong masters. Which family doesn't have a mid-level venerable? Why are you here? If I take action, I can kill you on the spot with 3 punches. Do you deserve to be called a venerable? Han Fei's voice rumbled and shook the world. Off the field, countless people felt their blood boil when they heard it. Sure enough, those who could become generals were all extraordinary figures. With the power of an explorer, Han Fei wanted to kill a venerable with 3 punches. Fuck, wasn't this a fantasy? However, no one didn't believe it. Even Sun Baixing himself was a little convinced. He didn't dare to answer Han Fei's words, for fear that Han Fei would have a life-and-death battle with him. Han Fei was very familiar with this kind of thing. Someone below also said to him via voice transmission, "That's right. How can he be a venerable? He almost killed countless people." Han Fei sneered. The big clans are just so-so. They are far worse than the 7 major sects of the Thousand Star City. In yesterday's battle, Elder Six Sword, Elder Bingyun, and the Sword Venerable protected the territory of the Scattered Stars Island, preventing the Sea Demon Venerable from invading. They are much more useful than you. With that said, Han Fei said with a smile, after careful consideration, I'm willing to cooperate with the 7 major sections. Elder Six Sword, please inform the 7 academies. If you are interested, you can help the Scattered Stars Island. Shueishenqi looked at Han Fei's skillful means and nodded slightly. Han Fei had completely turned the big clans into big villains. At the same time, he wanted to rope in the 7 major sects. He wanted to completely isolate the big clans. Elder Six Sword, Elder Bingyun, and Jian Sanqing looked at each other and felt that it was a good idea. This would not only allow the experts of the 7 major sects to enter the island, but also make friends with Han Fei. Why not? The relationship between the 7 major sects and the Thug Academy was actually not that bad. Besides, Han Fei had a close relationship with the Heavenly Sword sect. Now that Han Fei was in charge of the Scattered Stars Island, shouldn't he be on good terms with the 7 major sects? In an instant, Elder Six Sword walked out of the void and said seriously, "Okay, at most one day, the 7 major sects will definitely send envoys." Han Fei nodded slightly. "That's good." In the distant void, Ningjing watched this scene the whole time and couldn't help patting her chest. She was taken aback. So many venerables, but Han Fei could deal with them. That little mouth of hers was too talkative. Even if a group of venerables joined forces, they still couldn't beat him in an argument. Chapter 1403. Looking at Chu Qing and the other 3 who were like clowns, Han Fei sneered in his heart. There may be something wrong with my position, but so what? I'm rich. Having money and not using it were 2 different things. Although the aristocratic families sat on a huge amount of resources, they had many descendants of different levels. The amount of resources needed to nurture an outstanding disciple was unfathomable, let alone such a large family. Therefore, in the big families, the distribution of resources was firmly controlled by the people in the center of power. But what about Han Fei? If one person was full, the whole family would not be hungry. If there was too much money, it would be a burden. If it weren't for the fact that it could be regarded as a resource, he wouldn't be interested in it at all. For example, the spirit awakening fluid was of no use to him now. If it weren't for the fact that he was afraid that throwing out 100 million kilograms of spirit awakening fluid would scare away the big families and even arouse covetous eyes, Han Fei might have really thrown it out. In the past, when he was blackmailing the big families, Han Fei's vision was too low. The 10,000 spiritual fruits and 1,000,000 kilograms of spiritual spring were not enough for him. In that case, he would be ruthless today. Han Fei thought, I have to check this matter personally. If any family has less resources, they won't come to the Scattered Stars Island. If they come, I'll get rid of them, and do it above board. Chu Qing gnashed his teeth. Han Fei, you are very good, Han Fei said disdainfully, nonsense. Do I need you to judge whether I am good or not? Also, don't call me by my name next time, please call me General Han. Humph. With a swish, Chu Qing tore open the void and left gloomily. As dignified venerables, Chu Qing and the others had never thought that one day they would be so humiliated. When he left, he said in his heart, this hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. However, Chu Qing and the others were at a different level from Han Fei. It was impossible for them to beat Han Fei in jesting. After these people left, Han Fei spoke again, his voice shaking like thunder, now that I have succeeded to the throne, I dare not let Marshal Shui down. I will try my best to repay the human race. After a pause, Han Fei continued, order the logistics division to classify and distribute the items I just donated to the subordinate departments within 3 days. This matter was monitored by everyone on the island. Whoever dares to be greedy will be executed. Buzz. At that moment, the millions of people were shocked. Damn, what kind of godly efficiency is this? Within 3 days, they had to allocate such a large amount of resources. Wang Lin's face fell. What the fuck, are they going to work around the clock? 3 days? My logistics division doesn't need to operate anymore. However, Wang Lin thought, the current situation is tense, efficiency is the most important. He was prepared to do this personally. Immediately, Wang Lin said, Commander Han, may I be so bold as to request Commander Han to immediately give me the resources so that I can start the preparations immediately. Han Fei thought that Wang Lin was reliable and immediately nodded. Okay. However, with such a huge amount of resources, let's count them right here. Once you're done, go back to the warehouse. Wang Lin smiled bitterly in his heart. This Han Fei really wants to show off. What can I do? Immediately, Wang Lin shouted, all members of the logistics division, come here quickly and cooperate with me. Everyone, please make way for us. Han Fei didn't care and waved his hand casually. Millions of spiritual springs and tens of thousands of spiritual fruits hung in the sky. The spiritual springs were like the Milky Way hanging upside down, and the spiritual fruits were like stars all over the sky, dazzling people's eyes. When the spirit awakening fluid flowed down like a waterfall, many people couldn't stand it anymore. Xue Shenqi was speechless. Do you have to do this? You make it sound as if you, the general, were just bought. Han Fei seemed to have expected this and casually threw out a large pile of sea-swallowing seashells. Okay. Take your time to sort them out. Silence. While the people of the logistics division were sorting out the materials, the millions of soldiers below were either talking to each other via voice transmission or whispering. Being shouted at by Han Fei, they immediately lowered their voices, waiting to hear what Han Fei was going to say next. But Han Fei's voice became deep. Soldiers, as you know, the sea demons have become more and more powerful recently. After repeated confirmation by me, Commander Xue, and other strong masters, it has been confirmed that the legendary Sea Demon King City has appeared. Huh? Hiss. What? Sea Demon King City. In an instant, the entire Scattered Stars Island fell into an uproar. Even Wang Lin and the others who were counting the resources were dumbfounded. Someone wondered, where is the Sea Demon King City? Someone was stunned. The King City, that's the legendary super force behind the sea demons. Someone said solemnly, in the past, there were occasional heavenly talents from the Sea Demon King City. But is it true or not? No one can say for sure. Is it confirmed this time? Han Fei said, recently, you may have noticed that the number of strong masters on the Scattered Stars Island has increased, and even venerables have appeared. This was unheard of in the past. And on the sea demon's side, as many as 20 Tao-seeking realm great demons have died in my hands alone. 2 venerables have also died. It can be seen that the number of strong sea demons is increasing rapidly. Someone exclaimed, what should we do? Is a war going to break out? Someone cursed, what do you mean? A war has already broken out. Someone sighed. No wonder there have been more and more wars in the past few months. Someone was dumbfounded. It wasn't easy in the past. Now, the sea demons have become so strong. Can we still resist them? When the million soldiers were a little panicked, Han Fei shouted again, everyone, don't panic. The sea demons are becoming stronger, but our human race is not without strong masters. Although the sea demons are strong, they can't be endless. In the past several wars, when didn't human beings win? It was like this in the past, and it will be like this in the future. The reason why I want to tell you this is that I'm going to do something big. Although I can make a decision on this matter, I still need to respect your opinions. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. The Supreme Commander wanted to ask for their opinions. Han Fei seemed to be very friendly to the people. Some people wondered what was it that made Han Fei not dare to make a decision on his own. In the midst of the discussion, Han Fei said, soldiers from the 36 towns, how many of you didn't know the existence of this place until you came to the Scattered Stars Island? How many of you have families waiting for you after you died? How many of you have dedicated silently without anyone knowing? I know you. Because I'm also from the 36 towns. Like many of you, I'm from the same hometown. I've been in the level 1 fishery, the level 2 fishery, and the level 3 fishery together. I've also boarded dragon boats and explored secret realms. With a few words, Han Fei separated the soldiers of the 1,000-star city from the people of the 36 towns. Because most of the soldiers of the 1,000-star city didn't have such an experience. Besides, the people of the 1,000-star city had always known that the Scattered Stars Island was a place that only the 36 towns kept a secret from them. Why did they keep it a secret? Because the 36 towns were too weak, and not many strong masters were born there. More people hoped that the people of the 36 towns could live in peace and pursue strength with peace of mind. Therefore, as soon as Han Fei said this, countless people felt the same way. Someone laughed. Back then, I won first place in the resource competition in the village. At that time, I was the pride of our village. Someone smacked his lips and said, "You may not believe it. When I boarded a dragon boat for the first time, I was so scared that I almost peed my pants. How could there be such a big boat in this world?" Someone sighed. Now that I think about it, although it was dangerous at that time, danger and excitement coexisted. Adventure, treasure hunting, becoming stronger, everything was very simple. While everyone sighed with emotion, Han Fei said, "Everyone, Marshal Xue and I think it's time to tell those people in the 36 towns about the Scattered Stars Island. Let them know that their comfortable lives were earned by them fighting on the front line with their swords and sabers. Let them know that the spirit awakening fluid they use to awaken spirits and the weapons they use to brave adventures are earned by you fighting with your flesh and blood. The Sea Demon King's city is coming, and the fate of mankind is intertwined. They need to be vigilant." For a moment, many people were silent. This question was actually quite difficult to answer. Although deep in their hearts, they very much wanted others to know what they were doing on the Scattered Stars Island. But in the 36 towns, life was easy and comfortable. Such a beautiful state of life was broken just like this, revealing a bloody world to them. How cruel was this? But while many people were silent, those from the Thousand Star City took it for granted. Isn't this what we should do? I've said before that there's no need to hide the existence of the Scattered Stars Island. When people die, they don't even dare to tell us how they died. Tell us that they were eaten by a powerful fish when they were adventuring? Ha ha ha. An ordinary person from the Thousand Star City said, "We are killing enemies outside and have children at home, so we have the motivation to cultivate hard. We have been weaving a beautiful dream for them. Once this dream is broken, what should we do?" In an instant, millions of people, all ordinary people from the Thousand Star City, felt that this was a matter of course. Half of them came from the 36 towns and actually wanted to tell those people in the 36 towns. However, the other half, most of them had families and were very hesitant. They might not want their families to worry about them. Han Fei said, "That's what I hope. Even if you die, your family, your children, your relatives and friends, will know that you are real heroes, heroes who have fought for the continuation of the entire human race." Han Fei's voice was excited. "I hope that behind each of you, there will be a pair of eyes that trust and look forward to you. If you don't die, you will become their heroes. If you die, you will inspire them to move forward." In an instant, many people looked up at Han Fei. Suddenly, someone shouted, "I agree, the Scattered Stars Island should tell the 36 towns the truth." The people from the Thousand Star City naturally agreed. In their opinion, this was a matter of course, and at this moment, they all agreed. With someone taking the lead, the situation suddenly became one-sided. Only to hear that mountainous and ocean-like voice reverberating in the air above the sea god square. The voices of a million soldiers rolled. "We agree to tell the 36 towns about the Scattered Stars Island." Millions of people united, and a strange power suddenly emerged between heaven and earth. This power was drilling into Han Fei's body. Han Fei's feeling was the most obvious. This was not human aura, nor was it willpower, but a wonderful gentle power. After entering his body, it dissipated into nothingness. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes lit up. He felt it. This was the power of will. Chapter 1404. Han Fei didn't get carried away by the power of faith. When he decided to inherit the position of the Supreme Commander, he had already thought about some things. The 36 towns were no weaker than the Thousand Star City, just like the former City of Justice. Anyone in a village could go to the City of Justice, and anyone could take on tasks in the City of Justice. There was no such thing as a person in a main city being stronger than a person in a village. They were all mortals who cultivated. Everything depended on oneself to pave the way for cultivation. For the first time, Han Fei had a real ambition in his heart. He wanted to open up the passage between the 36 towns and the Thousand-Star City. He wanted to destroy all the big clans in the Thousand-Star City. Han Fei even wanted to change the relationship between the academies of the Thousand-Star City and the 36 towns. They were all academies, so why couldn't they enroll students in a unified way? Could they enroll talents with a fixed score? When the Thousand-Star City and the 36 towns were completely connected, the world would be unified. Exchanging a glance with Shueishenqi, Han Fei said via voice transmission, "My goal is to conquer the entire human race." Shueishenqi looked serious. Of course. Otherwise, I would have objected. While the crowd was cheering, Han Fei held the rod in his hand and raised it high with one hand. I don't want to see you repeatedly lose your mind for the sake of human beings. Inspectors of the Island Patrol Team and the Law Enforcement Team, come out. Hum. Hum. Two figures rushed over from a distance in a few steps. I'm Meng Liang of the Island Patrol Team. Nice to meet you, General Han. I'm Zhou Tianfa, the Inspector of the Law Enforcement Team. Nice to meet you, General Han. Han Fei shouted, I order you two to inspect all the soldiers on the island from today on. All the seriously injured and disabled are to take off their armor and return to their hometown. Anyone below the law enforcement realm who has fought on the Scattered Stars Island for more than 8 years must submit an application if they want to stay on the Scattered Stars Island. After the examination and approval, they can stay. The crowd was in an uproar. Some people were dumbfounded. They met the requirements to return to their hometown, but why would they go back? Someone immediately shouted, General Han, I won't go back. The Scattered Stars Island has already become our home. We won't leave. We won't leave. Even the soldiers shouted one after another, we won't leave. Han Fei smiled bitterly. It's hard to be discharged from the army. These people were used to going through fire and water here. If they returned home, they would not be able to sleep well. However, Han Fei's voice was like thunder as he shouted, the situation on the Scattered Stars Island is about to be announced to the 36 towns. Could it be that you want me to issue an order to forcefully notify them? The Scattered Stars Island was an unknown place in their eyes. It was a mysterious and sacred place, and he could shatter their illusions with his own hands. However, don't be too direct and violent. I need you to tell them the heroic stories, battles, and epics of the Scattered Stars Island. You have made great contributions to mankind. Why don't you go home? Someone shouted, General Han, there's no one left at home. Are we going to go back and tell stories? Yeah. We don't have to go back and make up a story ourselves, do we? I can't wait. Han Fei felt a headache too. He shouted again, if you want to stay, write an application yourself. You should know that if you don't retreat, how will the newcomers come up? There will be talented people in every generation, and they will lead the world for hundreds of years. In the future, the Scattered Stars Island will be a battlefield known to the world, a place where the flames of war are burning. The 36 towns need your encouragement. In the crowd, some people didn't listen at all and shouted wildly, I won't go home. Smack. At that moment, someone slapped him on the head. You don't belong to me. I remember you have a son. Do you want your son to die without knowing whether his father is here or not? A captain-level powerhouse scolded, General Han is merciful. Don't bark like crazy. If you don't want to go home, write an application. If you don't want to go home, I really want to kick you to death. Meng Liang and Zhou Tianfa smiled bitterly. This task was a bit tricky. But Han Fei didn't care. After explaining this controversial matter, Han Fei finally took over Shueishenqi's 13-star token. Han Fei eventually accepted Shueishenqi's 13-star token. After he volunteered a huge sum of money and used the big families in the Thousand-Star City as his scapegoat, he finally accepted the position of the new marshal. On the same day, the entire Scattered Stars Island was undergoing a revolution. Han Fei's more than 100 heaven-level cultivation arts and combat skills and more than 1,000 below the heaven level attracted the attention of everyone below the explorer level. Because everyone knew that the logistics division had to sort out resources, the resource exchange window of the logistics division was very small, directly reduced by 90%. On the other hand, those cultivation techniques were immediately copied and passed on from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. But no matter what, the logistics division, which had to stay in the central city, was already overcrowded. The square inside and outside the logistics division of the east, west, north, and south divisions were already filled with people. Someone shouted, "Ha, this water-stirring seal is too powerful. Once this technique is used, seals may become the trend." Someone despised, "Bullshit, the water-stirring seal is not powerful at all. This War Soul archery technique is a heaven-level high-quality archery technique. This is really powerful." Someone sighed. Although the War Soul archery technique is powerful, it consumes too much spiritual energy. What kind of guy can shoot so many arrows? Someone laughed and scolded, "What do you know? Don't be attracted by the lethal combat skills. This flying fish technique is a heaven-level high-quality movement technique. If I can learn and master this technique, I can fight 2 sea demons of the same realm." Many people exclaimed, "You are all wrong. Look at this 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies, it is a demon-level divine-quality body-refining technique. This is the only divine-quality body-refining technique donated by Marshal Han. It is said that Marshal Han personally practiced this body-refining technique. It is the rarest in the Scattered Stars Island and no one can match it." At this moment, in the crowd, several people were smiling bitterly beside the garden outside the logistics division. A short-haired girl said, "It turns out that he practiced this great technique. Li Hani, do you still want to compete with him now?" Li Hani was naturally the Li Hani from the Blue Sea Town. The former heavenly talent of the Blue Sea Town had disappeared. At this moment, Li Hani sighed leisurely. "I have long stopped competing with him. But this, 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies, was given out too late. I can't use it, and you can't use it either. I'm afraid that Han Fei wants someone to pass this great technique back to the 36 towns." This was also what countless people sighed about. The body-refining technique was different from other techniques. In each realm, one didn't polish his physique, and the further he advanced, the more difficult it was to polish it. No matter how he polished his body, he couldn't polish it like when he was in a weak realm. Of course, if he had a special opportunity, it was also possible. However, there weren't so many special opportunities in the world. After all, only a few people would encounter them. And in this vast crowd, there was another person standing at the gate of the logistics division, in a trance. Lin Wu looked at the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies, and was in a trance. In the past 5 or 6 years, she had been cultivating diligently, breaking through many secret realms and experiencing thousands of tribulations. Finally, she came to the Scattered Stars Island 2 months ago. When she first came to the Scattered Stars Island, Lin Wu was shocked by the strong masters here. For a rookie like her who had just entered the Scattered Stars Island, almost everyone here had a higher realm than her. But Lin Wu was confident in her potential. In just 5 or 6 years, she broke through 3 realms, a great fishing master, a dangling fisher, and a hanging fisher. Because in her life, there once appeared a different person, a master who liked to eat barbecue. Lin Wu looked at the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies, blankly, wondering, is General Han my senior brother? Lin Wu didn't think that Han Fei would be her master. After all, her teacher once said that he wandered between heaven and earth and had no fixed residence. Lin Wu felt that such a person should at least be stronger than those so-called venerables, right? Anyway, he must be stronger than Han Fei. Lin Wu frowned, thinking that this senior brother was really unreliable. He even offered the great technique passed down by her teacher to the world for free. However, she didn't intend to say that she was still too weak. Maybe she couldn't see the problem that senior brother saw. Since senior brother did this, there must be a reason. Thinking of this, Lin Wu was relieved. She just needed to cultivate hard. Her goal was never the Scattered Stars Island. But now, she was going to grow up on the Scattered Stars Island. She had already planned her growth route for herself. Her first step was to be able to walk thousands of kilometers away from the coastline. The island was in full swing and very lively. On the second day after Han Fei took over as the Supreme Commander, people from the 7 academies came. This time, there was an acquaintance of Han Fei, Mu Tianfang of the Heavenly Sword sect. Mu Tianfang was still a peak-level explorer, but today, with Han Fei's eyesight, he found that Mu Tianfang was actually half a venerable. Besides, judging from his vigorous qi and blood, Han Fei felt that Mu Tianfang was probably suppressing him. A total of 4 venerables and 14 explorers came from the 7 major sections. Among them, in addition to Jian Sanqing, the 6 sword ancestors, and Elder Bing Yun, there was also Fire Moon Fairy of the Sea Tower. The Death Door sect, the Origin Returning Peak, and the Mountain Sea Pavilion didn't send any venerables but only explorers. Han Fei didn't know whether they didn't have any or were unwilling to come. This force was not weak, but it was definitely not strong either. These 4 venerables, plus Xue Shenqi, Han Fei, and Elder Chen, were equivalent to 7 venerables. As his trump cards, Old Han and Peaceful definitely wouldn't show up for nothing. This also meant that no matter big or small, these 7 venerables were probably the limit that he could use now. As for the big clans, even if they brought resources, they would also come. But if they really fought, it would be very difficult for them to fight the enemy to the death. Because their purpose was not pure. They just came for the king's corpse. At this moment, Han Fei said, "You should understand what I mean. No matter what happens on the Scattered Stars Island, the big clans now have great power and abundant resources, and they are the target of our common resistance. If the big clans get the Empyrean waterfall, you can imagine the consequences. Think about it yourself." Mu Tianfang looked at the majestic Han Fei and thought to himself, it's only been a few years, and Tang Jiyi's strength has just reached the advanced sea spirit level, which is already amazing. But Han Fei can already kill a venerable, which is really unbelievable. Mu Tianfang said, "Of course we know about the big clans, but we need to confirm one thing. The students of the 7 major sects must be treated equally. Besides, the resource transactions with the big clans must be doubled." Chapter 1405. Impossible. Han Fei said, "Uncle Mu, you're asking for too much. 4 of them will double the resources. If each of the 7 academies has 1, what's the difference between them and the big families? The fixed price will be increased by 50%. Among them, 20% will be distributed to the people, and the rest will remain the same. In the past, if the Scattered Stars Island produced 10 portions of resources, basically more than 5 would end up in the 1,000-star city, 4 would be digested by the Scattered Stars Island itself, and about 1 would end up in the 36 towns. As for the 5 portions that ended up in the 1,000-star city, the big families and the 7 major sects would almost take up all of these resources. As a result, the ordinary people in the 1,000-star city actually didn't get anything. If they really wanted to get resources, they had to rely on the big families. Just like the 1,000-star proving ground, most of the star beads were controlled by the big families and the 7 major sections. Where could ordinary people go? If they didn't rely on the big families and sects, they could hardly go anywhere. But now, the share of the big families was directly cancelled by Han Fei. Therefore, of the 5 portions of resources, 3 were saved. This was the subsidy that Han Fei was going to give to the 36 towns. How could he give it to others casually? As the representative, Mu Tianfang was about to say something, but Han Fei said, "Uncle Mu, there's no need to say anything else. This is the moment of life and death for the human race. We can talk about other things after the sea demon tribulation is over." At this juncture, it's the great plan to resist the aliens and continue mankind. Don't worry about trivial things like resources. Han Fei was domineering and decisive, not giving Mu Tianfang a chance to speak at all. You're already here. If you leave, it'll be tantamount to turning against us. Once you really turn against us and leave, you'll be the sinner of all mankind. The 7 major sects will be reduced to the same reputation as the big families. Mu Tianfang and the others exchanged glances. Han Fei was now in his prime, and his style was extremely domineering and domineering. Fighting at this time would only break the relationship. Mu Tianfang took a breath. Okay. We can talk about this after this tribulation is over. But Han Fei, we have to remind you that if the Sea Demon King city really appears, the number of strong people is several times that of us. If the big families don't help us, the 7 major sects won't dare to take action at will. Otherwise, the strength of the 7 sects will suffer heavy losses, and the aristocratic families will seize the opportunity instead. Han Fei grinned and said, "It doesn't matter. There will be plenty of people from the big clans. Just wait and see." 36 towns, Wind Thunder Town. After Han Fei received the 7 major sects and met with the experts and ministers of the Scattered Stars Island, someone suddenly walked out of the teleportation field of the Wind Thunder Town. That formation was a teleportation formation that led to the unknown lands. All of a sudden, the guards of the Wind Thunder Town exclaimed, "A lord has returned from the unknown place." Immediately, 7 or 8 guards rushed in. The leader of the guards hurriedly said, "Greetings, sir." The mayor had told him that any lord who returned from the unknown place was a distinguished guest. "Would you like to have a rest in the Wind Thunder Town? Perhaps the mayor will come to receive you personally." Looking at the strange yet familiar place, Yu Lingyun narrowed her eyes and shook her head. "No, there are still a lot of people behind us." "Which teleportation formation leads to Cloud Soaring Town?" "Ah. Cloud Soaring Town." The guard said, "Sir, please wait for a moment. Our mayor will be here soon." Immediately, the 7 or 8 people fell to the ground under a great pressure. Yu Lingyun was full of killing intent. "I'm asking, which teleportation formation leads to Cloud Soaring Town?" The leader of the guards almost peed his pants. He was forced to kneel on the ground and couldn't move at all because of the pressure alone. This lord was so strong. He hurriedly said, "Sir, the teleportation formation at the end on the left is it." Yu Lingyun thought of something and calmed down a little. Then, she walked to the teleportation formation without hesitation. For her, she had no family and no one to worry about, so she had never been willing to go back. If there was anyone worth remembering, it would be Wu Xiaoxiao. This time, Yu Lingyun listened to Han Fei and came back to take a rest. In fact, she just came back to see Wu Xiaoxiao. She would go to the final battle of the Scattered Stars Island sooner or later. Yu Lingyun stepped into the teleportation formation without hesitation and disappeared in the next moment. Only then did the group of guards crawl up from the ground in a panic. The leader of the guards roared, "Hurry up and inform the mayor that a peerless expert has returned from the unknown place." After about 50 breaths of time, the messenger naturally hadn't returned. However, the teleportation formation of the unknown place lit up again. 5 or 6 people walked out of it at once. In a moment, another dozen people came out of the formation. The leader of the guards was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? He had planned to welcome the experts in a pleasant manner and attract them to stay in the Wind Thunder Town. But what's going on today? The teleportation formation that would only flash once every 10 days or half a month suddenly spat out a dozen people. However, one person after another came out of the teleportation formation. Before the guards went up to ask, hundreds of people had emerged from the formation. Hiss. The leader of the guards thought to himself, "This is bad. Something big has happened. Why are the experts from the unknown place returning in batches?" The people who appeared in front of the formation still looked sad. Among them, someone sighed. How long has it been since we came back? This is the Wind Thunder Town, isn't it? An armorist looked at the guard. Hey! Are you the guards of the teleportation field of the Wind Thunder Town? The leader of the guards replied, Yes, my lord. The armorist said, Go and call more people to guide my comrades back to their hometown, the guard. Hum. Hum. Hum, more and more people came out of the teleportation formation. After only a moment, 500 or 600 people had appeared, causing the atmosphere of the entire teleportation hall to be noisy. Son of a bitch. I've already submitted the application, but they still sent me back. Why? I'm so bored when I return to the remote village. Ha! What's the point of submitting it? Bro, I asked someone to pull some strings, but it didn't work. They said that I've been in the front line for too long and needed to come back to recuperate. Why do I need to recuperate? Someone yelled, We're not weak. If we just leave like this, the combat power over there will be weak, won't it? Someone sighed. If you can think of it, can't General Han think of it? Perhaps he had a way to deal with it. Although it's for our own good, I really don't want to come back. Alas. So what if I come back? I'll just rest for a while. Then I'll go back after a few days of leisure. Hey, where are they? Why isn't anyone showing the way? That's right. The teleportation hall of the Wind Thunder Town is too careless. Why are there so few people in charge of so many teleportation formations? Someone shouted, Hey! Who's that? Yes, it's you guys. Why are you standing there? Come here and tell me which teleportation formation is in this million gold town. It's been a long time, and I've forgotten it. Someone said, Come here, young man, it's you. Don't be afraid. Come here. Tell me, which teleportation formation is in Anha town? The guards were already dumbfounded. What the hell are these people? There are already 1,000 people here. Did something happen in the unknown place? Why are they all back? Moreover, that terrifying aura made them panic just by looking at them. Even the bloody smell of the old soldier with a broken leg and hand made their hearts go cold. Humph. All of you, shut up. What a scandal. I'm He Lao Lu, the deputy leader of the law enforcement group. Do I have to listen to your noise when I go home? Immediately, He Lao Lu shouted at the crowd. Then, He Lao Lu grinned at a guard and said, Little friends, come here. Each of you take a fish skin map, write the names of the 36 towns on it, and stand on the side of the corresponding teleportation formations. Isn't that enough? Plop. The guard leader directly knelt down. My lords, this is a serious matter. Please wait for the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town to come. Ha ha ha. All of a sudden, there was laughter. Someone said, Master He Lao Lu, don't scare people. Let's wait. He Lao Lu was speechless. Am I scary? I'm such a gentle person. Why am I scary? Just at this moment, with a swish, someone appeared in the teleportation hall. This person was not weak and had reached the peak level law enforcer level. It was Su Xian, the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town. As soon as Su Xian heard that something happened in the teleportation field, he rushed over. In the end, he was completely dumbfounded by what he saw. When he arrived, there were already nearly 5,000 people waiting here in this teleportation field. There were so many people that they lined up outside the main hall, waiting for the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town. The strength of these people varied. Some were only hanging fishers, and some had reached the law enforcer level. However, there were very few law enforcers, and most of them were physically disabled. If they weren't disabled, the Scattered Stars Island could cure them. Fortunately, Han Fei didn't open the treatment channel. Otherwise, none of these people would be willing to leave. Su Xian's face changed slightly, and she shouted in a low voice, All guards, retreat 10 kilometers from here. Don't come over without my permission. Su Xian released her aura, but how could the power of one person compare to that of 1,000 people? The people who returned from the Scattered Stars Island were all full of a strong smell of blood, and they wouldn't be afraid of anyone. After the guards retreated, Su Xian said solemnly, "Everyone, what happened to the Scattered Stars Island? Why did you come back in groups?" Immediately, He Laolu stood up. "Greetings, madam. According to the order of the new Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island, General Han, we are returning to our hometown. Please arrange some people to lead the way for us." Su Xian's face suddenly changed. Huh? Did something happen to General Shueishenqi? Immediately, someone shouted, "Of course not. Your teacher is the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town, so it's okay to know." Now, the situation on the Scattered Stars Island has changed, and the Sea Demon King City has appeared. The new General Han Fei is invincible. He killed 2 sea demon venerables and more than 20 Dao-seeking state demons in succession, and succeeded as the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Su Xian was stunned. Damn, this is a lot of information. Killed 2 sea demon venerables in succession? When did the sea demons have venerables? Also, why does the name Han Fei sound so familiar? Why does it sound so familiar? Su Xian suddenly woke up. It seems that the world has changed. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1406. For 3 days in a row, the teleportation field of the Wind Thunder Town was overcrowded. In just 3 days, as many as 80,000 warriors from the Scattered Stars Island returned one after another. And this was only in the past 3 days. One after another, there were people returning at every moment. This was not a matter that could be completed quickly. After all, there were still people who wanted to stay there. Therefore, there would be a vetting process. The vast majority of people were vetted very quickly, looking at their age, physical condition, and then asking about their family situation. If it wasn't necessary, they would be sent back directly. In fact, these 70,000 or 80,000 people, even if they were evenly distributed in various villages and towns, each village only had about 200 people. Even if another 70,000 or 80,000 people came back, it wouldn't be a lot. Few of these people who were sent back were prepared to live a low-key life. In the villages and towns, they were strong. Why should they live a low-key life? They needed to tell their stories to many people. They needed to publicize the strength of the sea demons to everyone and spread the legendary stories that were often heard in the clubs of the Scattered Stars Island. Of course, the most important thing was to cultivate the weak. The reason why Han Fei wanted these people to come back was that the overall strength provided by the 36 towns to the Scattered Stars Island was too weak, and most of them were made up by the people of the Thousand Star City. This wouldn't do. If the 36 towns really had the ability to cultivate talents, they might not be any weaker than the Thousand Star City. Therefore, it was very necessary for these strong people to return to their hometown. If they were casually cultivated, the overall strength of the young people of the 36 towns would be improved. These days, all kinds of fancy ways of returning kings appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Triumph Town. When the first batch of people returned from the teleportation array, there were a total of 236 people. Someone took the lead and said, "Everyone, remember the purpose and significance of our return. From today on, there will be no unknown places in this world. We need to tell the story of the Scattered Stars Island to a lot of people, so that these comfortable people will remember it. What is the unknown place that they revere and look forward to seeing?" Someone smiled and said, "Of course. Let's go to the mayor to report first." Everyone looked at each other and laughed. Let's go. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Among the 236 people, 56 of them suddenly spread their wings and flew into the sky with a whoosh. The remaining 180 or so people felt their hearts itch as they watched. They only hated that they were not hidden fishers. Otherwise, they could also roam the sky like them. Someone scolded, "A bunch of smelly show-offs. Brothers, release your aura and go find the mayor." Ha! Let's go. I don't want my face anymore. I'll play with you guys for once. These people were moving in a formation at an extremely fast speed. Even though he had lost a leg, he was still able to cover dozens of meters with a single leap. He was not slow at all. Behind them, inside and outside the transmission hall of Triumph Town, everyone was dumbfounded. Awoo! Angels, more than 50 angels came at once. Oh my God, what happened? Countless people were dumbfounded when they saw the group of more than 50 people flying in the sky. Could it be that something big happened in Triumph Town? Why did the Lord Angel come out as if he didn't need money? A child raised his head and exclaimed, "Dad, Dad, I see so many hidden fissures." A child rushed home, yelling. The child's father laughed and scolded, "Even your father hasn't seen many hidden fissures. How can you see them?" However, there was a burst of exclamation outside the house, and the man cursed as he walked out of the house. What the hell are they doing in the daytime? Hiss, Sky Marshall Town, Marshall God Village. Sky Marshall Town was warlike. Most people in other towns traveled in groups, but the people in this town advocated individual bravery and often liked to fight alone. At this moment, Chin Sung came back alone. Chin Sung's eyes were covered with a black cloth. His eyes were scanned in a battle, and since then, he could only see the world with his perception. Perhaps because he was blind, although Chin Sung was a soul warrior, his soul power was indeed extremely strong. Among hidden fissures in the same realm, his soul power was more than twice that of others. When the fishing boat came to the Marshall God Village, Chin Sung's heart was surging. There had always been a beautiful figure in his mind. Back then, he resolutely went to the unknown place in high spirits, unable to stay with the girl who was waiting for him. Although he wanted to come back countless times, he was full of guilt. At that time, it was he who resolutely left and left her alone. How could he still have the face to come back? But now, he had to come back. Before coming back, Chin Sung's heart was surging. I wonder if that girl is still married. In a place like the Marshall God Village, she should be married, right? Chin Sung's mind was full of guilt for that girl. Besides, he was blind, and there was no such thing as a king's return. Let's talk about the mission on the Scattered Stars Island after dealing with some of my affairs. Chin Sung pulled down the black cloth on his eyes slightly, put away the fishing boat, and soon returned to the small courtyard of his home. This Chin Sung was a genius of the Marshall God Village back then. Therefore, his small courtyard had always been there. However, when he arrived at the door of his home, he found that the courtyard was fully equipped with living facilities. There were seaweed clothes to dry, a big mussel in a tank, many strings of dried fish hanging in front of the house, some delicate handicrafts, and a half-polished fishing rod. Huh? Someone lives here. Chin Sung couldn't help but frown. He had only been away for a few years. Who dared to occupy his courtyard? However, when he scanned with his perception, he immediately found that there were women's clothes in the house. Hey! Who are you looking for? Next to him, a slightly fat middle-aged woman said warily, holding an iron rod in her hand. Because Chin Sung was tall and his eyes were covered with a black cloth, he really didn't look like a good person. Besides, the heavy smell of blood on Chin Sung's body made people think that he was a great evil person. Chin Sung turned around and smiled. Aunt Chin, it's me. The fat woman saw that this person could still call her name, and the way he called her. Then she looked at Chin Sung's face. Although it was covered by a black cloth, it still looked familiar. Ah! You are. Chin Sung. Chin Sung nodded slightly. It's me. I'm back. The fat woman exclaimed, Little Sung, you've been away for 8 years, haven't you? Why are you back now? Ouch, what happened to your eyes? Seeing that the fat woman was long-winded, Chin Sung couldn't help but say, Aunt Chin, my house. He heard the fat woman say, ouch, it's always been Jean, living here. Jean has been looking after the house for you. I've waited for you for 8 years. How many outstanding boys have I rejected? Qin Sung, this time, you absolutely can't let Jean down. Otherwise, although your Aunt Qin can't beat you, I'll still slap you. Qin Sung's body trembled. What? It's her. Where is she? The fat woman said, she's a girl. Back then, she was seriously injured. Although she still has strength, besides fishing, she also runs a small business. It's on the east side of the departure port. Jean rented a small shop to do some small jewelry and stuff. Martial God Village, East Departure Port. A few ruffians were picking a fight. Among them, a guy with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks was leading 2 or 3 ruffians, blocking the entrance of a small shop. The short and skinny leader chuckled as he moved his hands and feet. Lin Jean, just give in. Little Lei's family is a prestigious family, right? He's the second young master of Little Lei's family, and his talent is first class. If you marry him, your life will be wonderful. Slap. The girl called Lin Jean was thin and pale, but her face was still delicate and pretty. At this moment, she glared at the short and thin man. Get lost. The short and thin man saw that his hand had just been slapped away, and another person suddenly reached out and slapped Lin Jin's butt. Lin Jean was so angry that she reached out to pull out a long knife on the table and slashed over. If you dare to touch me again, I'll kill you. The ruffian laughed. Lin Jean, if you kill me, will you still see your brother Tsung? Aren't you afraid of being exiled? The short and thin man laughed. Lin Jean, if you want us to stop harassing you, just get married. If you really can't, just give in to me. Ha ha ha. As the ruffians laughed, they even grabbed a box of jewelry and sneered. Forget it, I'll let it go today. I'll come back tomorrow. Put it down. The short and thin man grabbed the jewelry box and was about to leave when he suddenly saw a strong young man with a black cloth covering his eyes blocking the entrance of the shop. The short and thin man scolded, where did this blind man come from? Get out of my way, or I'll kill you. Swoosh. A silver light suddenly appeared. With a sweep of the cold light, an arm flew up. That box of jewelry had appeared in the blind man's hand. Ah, the short and thin man fell to the ground and rolled. The other ruffians' expressions changed drastically. They shouted angrily, bastard, do you know who you've cut? This is Little Lei's master He. You're finished. The short and thin man roared, don't let him go. Cut this guy for me. Swoosh. The silver light appeared again. The short and thin man's other arm was gone. Qin Sung's voice was cold. His blood and qi were boiling. He pointed the long knife in his hand at a ruffian. You, go tell Little Lei's family that if they don't arrive in 30 minutes. From today onwards, there will be no Little Lei's family in the Martial God Village. That ruffian rolled and crawled, crazily running away. Outside the store, there was already a crowd of people. Sung. Brother Tsung. The moment Qin Sung appeared, Lin Jean already knew who it was. She covered her mouth as tears rolled down her cheeks. Qin Sung looked at Lin Jean. After a long while, he said, I'm sorry. I came back late. At this moment, a group of law enforcers rushed over and shouted, where are you? Where are the ruffians? Someone forcefully bumped into him and angrily rebuked, thief, who gave you the guts to commit murder in front of everyone, plop. When those people ran to within 10 meters of Qin Sung, they all fell to the ground. Blood spurted from their mouths and they trembled like shrimps. They couldn't say a word. Qin Sung didn't pay attention to these people. He walked up and wiped the tears from Lin Jin's eyes. Suddenly, Lin Jean threw herself into Qin Sung's arms and wailed, why did you come back so late? Where have you been all these years? Do you know how hard it was for me to wait for you? Qin Sung hugged Lin Jean and said in a trembling voice, I'm back. I'm not leaving. In this life, I, Qin Sung, will never leave you alone again. Among the onlookers, many people exclaimed, Qin Sung. He seems to be a former heavenly talent. Huh. Why is he blind? He's so strong even though he's blind. This kid's talent is pretty good. What's so good about him? He probably came back because he couldn't survive in the outside world anymore. After a while, someone shouted wildly from a distance, "Which thief dares to touch the people of the little Lay family?" An armorist, leading 2 junior fishing masters, rushed over. Without saying a word, the newcomer didn't even look at the law enforcers lying on the ground and directly rushed into the store. Qin Sung gently stroked Lin Jin's hair and said lightly, "Only one fishing master came?" "Hee, from today on, the little Lay family will no longer exist in the martial god village." All of a sudden, Qin Sung's voice thundered, scaring many onlookers to the ground. "I am Qin Sung, Deputy Commander of the 76th Regiment of the Pioneer Group in the Unknown Place. The village leader of the martial god village and the head of the little Lay family, come and greet me." Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1407. What happened to Qin Sung wasn't rare. In the village, it was natural to say that the people were simple and honest. However, the so-called simplicity was only because those places could only cause so much trouble when they were overturned. In the eyes of the real experts, it wasn't a big deal at all. They would even feel that it was a real life. Unlike Qin Sung, who burst out in anger, other people weren't so low-key. Someone powerfully returned. There were wings on his body, a king returning, leaving the villagers terrified. There wasn't a single one of them who couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Someone burst into laughter and shouted. When the father and the son met, the son somehow had a strong father. Some people found that their relatives and friends had passed away or were living a hard life. Immediately, they were infuriated. Get rid of the evil and bring peace to the people. All in all, in the past few days, the entire 36 towns had been turned upside down. In the regular fisheries, a tremendous number of experts returned from the legendary Unknown Place. Every single one of them was terrifyingly strong. Cloud Soaring Town, Cloud Soaring Academy. The Cloud Soaring Town had been weak for 100 years and lacked teachers. That was everyone's impression of the Cloud Soaring Town. Since Wu Xiaoxiao returned, she had been working in the Cloud Soaring Academy in the town. She even became a hidden fisher in front of the students. For a moment, she became the most popular teacher in the Cloud Soaring Town. Wu Xiaoxiao knew that she wouldn't be able to survive on the Scattered Stars Island if she stayed, so she might as well come back as soon as possible. Therefore, she was particularly attentive when teaching students. At this moment, 6 manipulator students were surrounding Wu Xiaoxiao, and 100 other students were observing. Some spirit-entangling grasses were trying to absorb spiritual energy, some green vines were drilling the ground like snakes, and some thorny grasses were attacking like blades. Wu Xiaoxiao, who was petite, wasn't panicked at all. She roared, "No, the spirit-entangling grasses are too slow. Do you only know how to go straight? Who will wait for you to entangle them?" As she spoke, Wu Xiaoxiao pointed her finger casually, and frost appeared in the air and froze the spirit-entangling grasses that were extending. Then, she stomped her foot, and the vines that were trying to break out of the ground hit a wall. Wu Xiaoxiao said, "Who's scared of you when your spiritual energy is so dispersed? If you encounter the sea scorpion, your manipulation method will be easily broken." Before the thorny grass could even get close, Wu Xiaoxiao had already constructed an ice wall in midair with her whip. With a whoosh, an icicle pierced through the air, and all the thorny grasses along the way were smashed into pieces. In an instant, these students fell to the ground one after another, none of them able to get up. Wu Xiaoxiao snorted. What a mess. 6 people of the same realm, yet they can't even take me down. You are the worst batch of students I have ever taught. If people like you go to the unknown lands, I'm afraid you won't even survive a day. At that moment, someone shouted, "Teacher Xiaoxiao, who can compare to you? You're too strong." Someone chimed in, "That's right. Teacher Xiaoxiao, why don't you tell us what's in the unknown lands? Little teacher, is it really that dangerous? Little teacher, how can I become a proud son of heaven like you?" Wu Xiaoxiao was speechless. Do you think I'm a heavenly talent? There is always someone better than you out there. In the same realm, even if there were 100 of me, I wouldn't be able to shake a truly powerful expert. That's impossible. Absolutely not. Little teacher Xiao Xiao, you lied to us again. Just as the group of students were shouting, a cold voice suddenly rang out. She didn't lie to you. Just as Wu Xiaoxiao was feeling a headache for the students, her body suddenly tensed up. She quickly turned around, only to see a red-robed young lady standing behind the crowd. Captain. All the students turned to look, and they were dumbfounded. Their hearts skipped a beat when they saw the scar on the woman's face. What a terrifying woman. The same thought popped up in everyone's mind. Apart from the scar, this woman is quite pretty. But how can she be so terrifying? I only took one look at her, and my legs turned to jelly. Ah! Wu Xiaoxiao suddenly screamed, Captain, Sister Ling Yun. Why are you here? I've missed you so much. Wu Xiaoxiao lunged at her. It was exactly because of her vivacity and childishness that she was liked by the teachers and students of the Lingyun Academy. Seeing that Wu Xiaoxiao was clinging to her like an octopus, Yu Lingyun's face softened. Get down here. You're a teacher, but you're acting frivolously. What a disgrace. Wu Xiaoxiao quickly stuck out her tongue. Sister Lingyun is still as unfeminine as before. Getting off Yu Lingyun, Wu Xiaoxiao asked in surprise, Sister Lingyun, why? Why are you back? Yu Lingyun said casually, the unknown place is about to be announced to the world. Huh? Wu Xiaoxiao was stunned, not knowing what that meant. Yu Lingyun said, Captain Han Fei has succeeded as the supreme commander and ordered the hundreds of thousands of soldiers to retire. Ah! Huh? Huh? Ignoring Wu Xiaoxiao's dumbfounded expression, Yu Lingyun looked at the students and said, your teacher is right. She's not strong but not bad at the same level. Some people can fight 100 enemies on the same level. And there's more than one of them. Some students looked at Yu Lingyun in shock. One of them could fight 100 enemies on the same level. Then there's more than one. Yu Lingyun estimated that they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, so it was hard for them to understand. Suddenly, Yu Lingyun looked at a person 1,000 meters away. That person's strength did not seem to be any weaker than him. Their auras collided. Yu Lingyun sensed that the man seemed to have a gloomy air. She extended her hand, and a fiery cloud fell from the sky, condensed into a giant sword, and slashed at the man. Ah! Oh my God! What technique is this? It's so horrifying. The group of students swayed left and right, and some of the weaker ones actually fell to the ground. As for the person 1,000 meters away, he cackled and stretched out a hand. The void hand directly wrapped around the huge flame sword that was like a cloud of raging flames. With a grasp, he casually withdrew it. Hee hee. Which law enforcer has come to the Lingyun Academy? What's your business? Wu Xiaoxiao said quickly, Sister Lingyun, this is Chiu Lai, the president of the Lingyun Academy. If Han Fei were here, he would have exclaimed, that's not Senior Uncle Faceless at all. When did you become the president? When did he grow such a handsome face? Yu Lingyun cupped her hands. Sorry, it's you, Mr. President. My name is Yu Lingyun. I've just returned from the unknown place. I'm here to visit my friend, who is teacher Wu Xiaoxiao of your school. Chiu Lai looked warm and didn't look gloomy at all. He nodded with a smile. Oh. That's a rare guest. Judging from your overflowing energy, you must be about to make a breakthrough. Why don't you stay at the Lingyun Academy for a while? Firstly, you can visit your friend. Secondly, I'm being selfish. I hope that you can give some pointers to the students of my academy. Yu Lingyun nodded decisively. That's fine. Thank you. Chiu Lai slightly nodded and left, leaving Yu Lingyun confused. Everybody knew that the Lingyun town was weak. However, the president of the Lingyun Academy was so strong. He could break her attack with a wave of his hand. Why couldn't such a person teach students? After Chiu Lai left, Yu Lingyun couldn't help but ask, Xiao Xiao, do you know that your president has reached the peak of law enforcer? Wu Xiaoxiao nodded and said, I do. The Lingyun Academy is the pride of the Lingyun town after all. If the president is weak, what will happen to the Lingyun town? Well, don't worry about the president. He's always been eccentric. Sister Lingyun, what did you just say? If I'm not mistaken, did you say that our captain has become the supreme commander? Are you kidding me? Yu Lingyun said solemnly, I'm not kidding you. Captain Han is also known as Commander Han now. A few days ago, he killed 2 sea demon venerables and more than 20 Dao-seeking state demons on his own, shocking the Scattered Stars Island. Because of that, Commander Shueishenqi abdicated. Hiss. Wu Xiaoxiao was dumbfounded. If someone else had said that to her, she would have regarded them as a liar. However, she was too familiar with Yu Lingyun. Before Wu Xiaoxiao came back to herself, Yu Lingyun said, Commander Han wants to tell the 36 towns what happened on the Scattered Stars Island. Since I'm staying here for the time being, let's talk about the 36 towns. Ah. Oh. Sister Lingyun, I'm a little confused. I've only been away for a few years. Why do I feel that the world has changed? What about Daliang and Leng Hui? Yu Lingyun looked up at the sky. They're dead. The Blue Sea Town. The Thug Academy, which used to be prosperous, was now empty. There weren't any disciples left. When the Thug Academy disappeared, rumors spread everywhere. However, there were also credible rumors that Han Fei of the Thug Academy offended the experts of the Thousand Star City, which suppressed the entire academy and forced them to flee. After the teachers and students of the Thug Academy left, no one protected the properties that Han Fei once left. The Fish Dragon Chess Arcade and the Fish Dragon Self-Service Hot Pot Restaurant all changed owners. Fortunately, Han Fei established a school in the Heavenly Water Village and provided resources, so the Fish Dragons still had some members. But even so, the Fish Dragons were weakened to the limit. The Black River Chamber of Commerce was suppressed by the Fish Dragons and held a grudge against them. After the Thug Academy was disbanded, they quickly retaliated. Poor brother Gang of the Fish Dragons. He used to be a gangster, a barbecue seller, and a manager. He used to be rich and noble, but now there were only about 200 people in the Fish Dragons. Those who were not from the Heavenly Water Village but recruited by outsiders all withdrew from the Fish Dragons, causing the Fish Dragons to be extremely dismal at this moment. At this moment, Chin Gang was in the Fish Dragons. Recently, someone came to bully Little Red, which was intolerable. Suddenly, someone rushed over. Brother Gang, not good. The people of the Black River Chamber of Commerce are here again. Li Gang's face darkened, and he gnashed his teeth. Jin Yuncheng. Outside the Fish Dragon Gang, a stout middle-aged man looked at Li Gang contemptuously and said sarcastically, Hey, who are you angry with, brother Li? Li Gang immediately shouted, Jin Yuncheng, what are you doing? Do you really think the Fish Dragons are easy to bully? Ha ha ha, the group of people laughed, and Jin Yuncheng pointed at Li Gang. Look, I only called you brother Li because of you. If I didn't, you wouldn't even be a fish shit now. What the hell? You've only become a great fishing master after so many resources. You are really not talented enough. Someone from the Fish Dragon Gang said angrily, Brother Gang, let's fight. Shut up. Li Gang thought to himself, fight? How can I fight? Obviously, I can't beat him. Li Gang took a few deep breaths. Jin Yuncheng, what do you want? Jin Yuncheng smiled coldly. Hand over all the secret recipes of the Fish Dragons, and the land outside the Thug Academy will be taken by the Black River Chamber of Commerce today. Li Gang flew into a rage. Bullshit. My leader is a genius. If he knows, your Black River Chamber of Commerce will be doomed. Humph. You mean Han Fei? The teachers and students of the Thug Academy all ran away. I heard that it was all Han Fei's fault. Han Fei, that little bastard, must have been killed and fed to the fish. You still expect him to come back to save you? Bam! Suddenly, a pressure descended, and the terrifying force directly forced Jin Yunqing to kneel on the ground, vomiting blood. A total of 12 hidden fissures fell from the sky. Someone shouted, "How dare you? How dare you insult the name of General Han?" Jin Yunqing was stunned and horrified. The more than 300 subordinates he brought all knelt on the ground, their legs weak. Jin Yunqing didn't know where so many hidden fissures came from, but he kept shouting, "Angel, please spare my life. I may have mistaken you for someone else. I'm just talking about the leader of a small gang." Crack! Jin Yunqing's legs were broken, and someone fell to the ground, his blood surging. I'm talking about Han Fei, General Han. General Han is invincible in the unknown place and has killed a Grand Venerable with a single punch. Now he is the supreme commander of the unknown place. How can you insult him? Who? Who dares to insult General Han? Bam! 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 In the distance, a group of nearly 100 hanging fissures in total was coming over in an array. Jin Yunqing almost peed his pants. What the fuck is going on? A small gang. How did it end up like this? The supreme commander of the unknown place. What's that? When a group of valiant soldiers surrounded them, their killing intent soared into the sky. Someone looked at Li Gang. Is this the fish dragons? Li Gang was stunned and hurriedly said, yes, this is the fish dragons. Those hidden fissures and hanging fissures all breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. By the way, we're right. Someone smiled and said, I didn't expect to be from the same hometown as General Han. I must go to the Heavenly Water Village to have a look later. What kind of place is that? How can it raise a heavenly talent like General Han? Someone responded with a smile, let's go together. Swish! A hidden fissure hurriedly flew over. Who else could it be but the mayor of the Blue Sea town? The mayor was shocked. Guys, someone shouted in a low voice, we returned from the unknown place and came to visit General Han's former residence because we admire him. Who would have thought that there would be a thief who dared to attack General Han's subordinates? This is an unforgivable crime. The mayor was stunned for a long time. General Han. Han Fei. How dare you call General Han by his name? Thud. Jin Yunqing fell to the ground, his eyes full of despair, thinking that he was doomed. Li Gang felt refreshed again and hurriedly got up. Hey, Jin Yunqing, it's time for you to die. The 36 towns seemed to have become lively all of a sudden. All kinds of strong masters returned, causing countless people to go around to learn from masters. The major academies of the 36 towns all extended olive branches, offering the position of vice president to recruit strong masters. And some stories about the Scattered Stars Island were told in the stories of these strong masters. There was no need to deliberately say anything. In fact, all they needed to do was tell stories. On the Scattered Stars Island, there were too many stories to tell. Chapter 1408. Han Fei inherited the position of the Supreme Commander and immediately felt the scene when he planned the City of Justice. At that time, he and Shiman Linglan were extremely busy. It was even harder than cultivating. They didn't even have time to rest. Han Fei certainly wouldn't devote all his time to the planning and construction of the Scattered Stars Island. At this moment, in the Marshal's mansion, there were 7 or 8 plates of fruit on the table, and sitting opposite him was none other than Shueishenqi. Yesterday, representatives of the major families, including the 6 venerables, visited Han Fei together, intending to negotiate with him. However, Han Fei flatly refused. It could be said that they had turned hostile on the spot. The group of people left after being scolded. Han Fei threatened that if he came again without bringing resources, he would be the enemy of the millions of people on the Scattered Stars Island. It must be noted that the millions of people on the Scattered Stars Island were not from the 36 towns. Everyone here was an elite. Today, the aristocratic families had yet to arrive. Han Fei invited Shueishenqi over for a chat. In the past few days, Han Fei had been troubled by a few questions and wanted to ask Shueishenqi for help. Marshal Shui, I've been really busy these days. I have too many questions in my heart. I want to ask Marshal Shui to answer them. Shueishenqi said with a sullen face, first of all, I am not the Supreme Commander now. After all, we are not familiar with each other. You can call me Mr. Shui. What's the matter? Feel free to speak your mind. Han Fei grinned. I think Mr. Shui must be confused. I went to the Empyrean waterfall. Why am I in the Sea of Pearls? Shueishenqi nodded. Yes. You can't have come from the Scattered Stars Island. It can only mean that there's a channel below the Empyrean waterfall that connects to the Sea of Pearls. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. Shueishenqi was really bold. But that was the logic. Since you didn't take the main road, you must have taken a shortcut. Han Fei immediately asked, Mr. Shui, do you know what kind of creature is buried under the Empyrean waterfall? Shueishenqi shook his head, I don't know. But since you went down, didn't you take away the king's corpse? Han Fei thought to himself, I did take away most of the things inside. The world where the demonic essence of the cloud whale's corpse was hidden returned to reality. Now, apart from that body, there was only some diluted spirit awakening fluid left. After decades of accumulation, perhaps the quantity of spirit awakening fluid would increase again, and he would be able to collect it continuously. However, the great battle was imminent, and there was clearly no time for that. The only thing that could be used now was the massive carcass of the cloud whale. If they were to be used to refine divine weapons, how many tens of thousands of them could be refined from these corpses? But how could the corpses of kings only be used to make weapons? Regardless of whether it was the corpses of kings or supreme experts, they were all used to study, drink blood, eat flesh, comprehend great bones, and experience the great Tao. This was where everyone's goal lay. This was especially so for the king bone, which was the essence of the great path. If he could comprehend it, then no matter if it was the grand Tao or the comprehension of the king realm, it would be extremely helpful. With the last experience, Han Fei could go there at any time. However, he was not impatient to comprehend it. The cloud whale's corpse was right there. It couldn't run away. On the other side of the 10,000 Demon Valley, Han Fei didn't believe that the people there were really endless. Would they still dare to invade the 10,000 Demon Valley after the death of two supreme experts? Hearing Shueishenqi's question, Han Fei shook his head slightly. How can I take away the corpse of a king? However, I do have a guess. Perhaps, there was another person who went in before. Impossible. Shueishenqi frowned. If someone had gone in before, the star tortoise would have known it. Besides, if that person had the ability to enter that place without anyone knowing, why would he leave the corpse there? Han Fei said, as we all know, 12-year-old children need spirit awakening fluid to awaken their spirits. And spirit awakening fluid seems to be something that can only be derived from kings. If that person had taken the corpse away, then the human race would have no spirit awakening fluid to use. Although some people can awaken naturally, the overall strength of the human race will inevitably be greatly reduced. Shueishenqi couldn't help but look at Han Fei. Huh? Since you said so, obviously you already know who that person is, right? Han Fei paused. Mr. Shui, do you know Tang Yan? Shueishenqi's eyelids twitched slightly and he looked at Han Fei quietly. Do you mean the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island more than 1,000 years ago? Han Fei grinned. It seems that Mr. Shui knows. Shueishenqi said, I have been in charge of the Scattered Stars Island for so many years, so of course I know. Tang Yan is a genius. He stayed in the position of Supreme Commander for 5 years. It can be said that he is the one who has been the Supreme Commander for the shortest time in history. But this person became a venerable on the 7th day. In 3 years, he passed the intermediate venerable realm, and in 5 years, he reached the advanced venerable realm. In the end, because Tang Yan's strength improved too fast, it caused a war between human beings and sea demons. It was also because of that battle that the Sea Demon King's city completely faded from the sight of humans, and even its shadow could not be found. And Tang Yan also seemed to wander, saying that he wanted to find the Sea Demon King's city. So he resigned from the position of Supreme Commander. Han Fei didn't know what Shueishenqi said. He had already read all the information about Tang Yan. However, those information seemed to be deliberately left behind by someone. It was like a resume, recording what Tang Yan had done in various periods. But he didn't mention the cloud whale. And the star tortoise once said that the cloud whale was brought back by Tang Yan. In this way, it didn't match. There was a big problem with Tang Yan. It was precisely because of this that Han Fei didn't touch the cloud whale's corpse. There must be some secrets in it that he hadn't unraveled. Shueishenqi narrowed his eyes and looked at Han Fei. Did Tang Yan go down there? Han Fei nodded slightly. According to some traces, it should be possible. I need to check the details again. Han Fei didn't intend to tell Shueishenqi now. Today's test, Shueishenqi knew much less than him. Then, this kind of secret might have other mysteries. He'd better wait. Seeing Han Fei's perfunctory look, Shueishenqi didn't ask further. Otherwise, there was no need to force Han Fei to lie. Shueishenqi asked, "Is that all?" Han Fei said, "Well, there is one more thing." Han Fei said, "A few days ago, I checked the time when the previous Supreme Commanders became venerable from Old Qin. They all have one thing in common, that is, before they became the Supreme Commanders, they were all explorers. There was even one person who became the Supreme Commander when he was a junior explorer because of his great wisdom. And these people generally took no more than 30 years to become venerable from the time they became the Supreme Commanders. Just now, the intelligent master I mentioned took 27 years to become a venerable from a junior explorer." Han Fei was not a fool. Although his cultivation speed was very fast, how many opportunities did he have to take to be able to progress so fast? However, these guys who could become the Supreme Commanders all cultivated at an abnormally fast speed. So many explorers were selected normally, but from beginning to end, only 2 of them took more than 30 years to become venerable. Among them, Shueishenqi took the longest. It took him a full 50 years to become a venerable. And Old Han, according to the records, took 21 years, which was neither fast nor slow. However, after learning about Old Han, Han Fei felt that Old Han must have done it on purpose. It stood to reason that Old Han's strength should have fallen from a very, very high level. He had long been a venerable. Why did it take him 21 years to make a breakthrough? And among them, the fastest was Tang Yan, who only took 5 years. From a peak-level explorer, he soared all the way to an advanced venerable, so fast that the sea demons didn't hesitate to start a world-shaking war to stop Tang Yan. Shueishenqi looked at Han Fei calmly. "With your intelligence, you should have discovered it." Han Fei nodded. "Of course I discovered it. When I stood in front of millions of people, when I became the one that everyone expected, I felt the power of hope." Han Fei asked the old turtle this question. The old turtle said, "This power is a kind of power of the great way between heaven and earth, which is used to repair one's Tao heart. If one's Tao heart was firm, one would become a king and be omnipotent." Han Fei also asked Peaceful, but Peaceful looked blank and didn't feel anything about it. The old turtle said, "Peaceful is not walking this path, so if Peaceful wants to become a king, her way of becoming a king will be different from yours." The power of hope of the Shuemu heaven was with the Life Queen, not Peaceful. At that time, Han Fei felt that this power of hope might only belong to the leader of a race. The old turtle talked about the Tao heart. If Peaceful couldn't feel it, then Shueishenqi should have the most experience. Power of hope. Shueishenqi thought for a moment. That's a good word. If so, this kind of power can be explained. Shueishenqi said, "You can try to use this energy to fuse with the Great Way. I don't know what this power is. However, I believe that this is the aspiration of the people, the power of faith." Under the nourishment of this power for a long time, the speed of cultivation will double, the perception of power will be stronger, and the understanding of the Great Way will be more sensitive. So, this is why all the previous Supreme Commanders have made breakthroughs so quickly. Fuse with the Great Way. Seeing that Han Fei was a little stunned, Shueishenqi stood up and said, "This power can make you a venerable, maybe it can also make you a king. However, the power of hope of these people on the Scattered Stars Island is not enough. If you want to take this path to become a king, you must hold the 36 towns in your hands. This is why I didn't stop you from revealing the unknown place to the 36 towns." First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1409. Han Fei nodded and decided to give it a try. His Great Way should be a bridge, not just a seed. But since the first manifestation of the Great Way last time, he had never seen that bridge again. The old tortoise's voice suddenly sounded, "Everyone's path to becoming a king is different. The power that you feel is called the power of hope, and just as he said, it could also be a type of power of faith. However, in my opinion, it's a manifestation of the Taoist heart. When millions of Taoist heart power converge, it becomes your so-called power of faith. In fact, it's just that each of them has too little Taoist heart power." Of course, Han Fei knew the importance of the Taoist heart power that the old turtle said. However, these two words were too unfathomable. What's the use of just Taoist heart? Taoist heart couldn't be used to cut firewood or fish. It couldn't be materialized. However, Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. No wonder the previous Supreme Commanders have grown so fast. It turns out that they are not cultivating alone. Suddenly, Han Fei came back to himself and looked in the direction where Shueishenqi left. Son of a bitch. Han Fei couldn't help but curse. Shueishenqi has been a peak-level explorer for so long. I wonder how much his strength has been suppressed. With Shueishenqi's reputation, it took him a full 50 years, twice as long as the other Supreme Commanders, to become a venerable. Once he became a venerable, how could he be ordinary? Therefore, Shueishenqi should be very strong. So, Shueishenqi deliberately gave me the blue feather? Fuck, it's a trap, it's all a trap. Han Fei's face darkened. He thought he would look arrogant after killing the two venerables. However, it turned out that they deliberately left it to him. Who would be able to be happy about this? Who? Han Fei shouted to the outside, "I'm meditating. No matter who comes, tell them to come again tomorrow." Outside the door, two hidden fisher guards took the order. Han Fei meditated, and the arrays in the mansion were interconnected. Thousands of formations concealed all the secrets of the city lord's mansion. As early as the Age of Doom, Han Fei had already spent a lot of time drawing the arrays of the Avenger. Now, with just a little more time, it would not be a big problem to hide from the Venerable One's senses. On that day, when he took over the position of the Supreme Commander, he invested a massive amount of resources and forced the big clans of the Thousand-Star City to submit to him, which won him the favor of many people. Therefore, a large amount of willpower entered his body that day. Because there was a lot of it, Han Fei could clearly feel the power. After a few days, Han Fei found that this power was almost omnipotent. Not only could it nourish one's body, but it could also improve one's physique and soul power. Of course, it was only a few days, so there wouldn't be any big changes. However, over the years, this kind of improvement would be very terrifying. However, with Han Fei's current physique, it could be said that he had cultivated to the limit that he could cultivate. Therefore, Han Fei could sense that the weird power that entered his body was not consumed at all. It was hidden in every grain of his flesh and blood and could barely be mobilized. Hidden in every grain of flesh and blood of my body. Suddenly, Han Fei was startled by a thought that suddenly came to his mind. The power of the Great Path was also hidden in every bit of spiritual energy and could not be found at all. The same was true of this willpower. In the words of the old turtle, this willpower was also a manifestation of the power of the Great Path, a way to manifest one's belief. Willpower is actually equal to the Great Path. Han Fei took a deep breath. To verify his guess, Han Fei immediately removed some arrays and scanned the thousand-star city with his perception. Immediately, Han Fei found Jing, on the top of the Empyrean waterfall. Beside Jing, there was a big yellow fat cat. At this moment, a person and a cat were playing with the hot pot. Let me tell you, I've already learned 70% to 80% of the essence of Han Fei's cooking. This hot pot is delicious when it's boiling hot. And this red pepper, this thing is very precious. Han Fei only planted a few in his yard, and I dug them all back. After my careful cultivation, I've planted a lot of them now. Jing, rolled her eyes. Careful cultivation. Isn't it a lot of spiritual energy? Big Yellow shook its head. That's different. Although I have a lot of red peppers, only I use them. Well, little Jill also gives them to me. Anyway, there are only a few of them. Isn't it precious when no one else has them? Jing said, then put them. What are you doing with a handful of red peppers? Big Yellow was stunned for a moment. I forgot how many a little is. Little Jill told me that a little is. Hearing this, Jing realized that this was an unreliable cat. Suddenly, she had an idea. She raised her head and looked in the direction of Central City. She said, take 6 of them, crush them into powder, and throw them in. Big Yellow was overjoyed. Wow! Under my influence, you have learned the essence of hot pot. Jing echoed with Big Yellow, but she was already talking to Han Fei in her heart. Han Fei said, Jing, let me ask you something. Before Her Majesty became a king, was she worshipped in the Cloud Sea Divine Tree? Jing was slightly puzzled, not knowing why Han Fei asked this. However, she still said, of course. Her Majesty was a peerless heavenly talent that only appeared once in 10,000 years. Every time she reached a new level, she would be invincible in the waterwood heaven. But that was tens of thousands of years ago. Her Majesty once became a demi-venerable in 10 seconds, a venerable in 100 seconds, and a peak-level junior venerable in 2 hours. This amazing feat has been praised for thousands of years. Han Fei asked, then how long did it take for her to become a king from the venerable stage? Jing said without hesitation, I'm afraid you'll be scared to death if I tell you. Han Fei said, do you think I'm scared? You can tell me about it. Jing said, it took a total of 38 years. It took the queen 18 years to subdue the 4 major races and become the king of the 4 races. It took 10 years to fight the Baibei royal city. In the past 10 years, Her Majesty killed 13 venerable realm great demons by herself, which was a strong venerable that the waterwood heaven had never seen before. In the last 10 years, her strength soared and she broke through in one fell swoop. Han Fei was stunned for a long time. Is the Life Queen so awesome? She looks quite gentle. However, Han Fei immediately suggested, hey, how did the queen resist the Baibei royal city before she became a king? Jing said, at that time, the White Armor Emperor hadn't become a king yet. You know, when a king was born, many heavenly talents rose up. At that time, the queen appeared in the waterwood heaven, and the White Armor Emperor appeared in the Baibei royal city. The queen and the White Armor Emperor became kings only 7 days apart. As soon as the great heavenly tribulation descended, the heavenly power descended, and it was inevitable that she would become a king. Even if the White Armor Emperor became a king first, he couldn't stop the queen. Han Fei asked, so, that is to say, the queen has been worshipped by many people since she was a child? Jing nodded. Yes. What's wrong? Han Fei was silent for a moment. Okay, you guys continue to eat the barbecue. After asking Jing, Han Fei had a rough idea. It seemed that, as Shueishenqi said, it was not enough to rely on the wishes of the millions of people on the scattered stars island to become a king. What if these millions of people could become hundreds of millions, or even billions of people? Han Fei couldn't help but sigh in his heart. What if I replaced all the sea god statues with my own statues? However, as soon as this idea came up, Han Fei extinguished it. Before, he didn't know, but now he knew that the sea god statue should be his mother. He didn't know where she was now, but now he knew that the sea god statue should be his mother. Now he stole her faith. Wasn't this a trap? Han Fei thought to himself, it seems that there's still a long way to go to become a king. However, the most urgent thing for him at the moment was to comprehend his own great way. Then, he would use this wish power to become a venerable as soon as possible. Once he became a venerable, there would be basically no place in the world that he couldn't go. Even if it was the 1,000-star city, with his means, it was not impossible for him to break into it. Han Fei continued to sit cross-legged. Although he could feel this wish power. However, it didn't seem to exist. According to the old turtle, this was a kind of great way. And the great way was invisible, so how could he see its appearance? Therefore, Han Fei immediately changed his way of thinking. Since I can't find the wish power that entered my body, where are they hidden in my flesh and blood cells? Then let them come out by themselves. In fact, this was what Han Fei was best at. Han Fei immediately activated the Tao seed and thought in his mind, great way, gather. Sure enough, as soon as Han Fei thought of this, the Tao seed immediately rotated. Although Han Fei couldn't see it, he could feel that invisible energy was gathering and drilling into the Tao seed. Suddenly, a small bridge wrapped in mist appeared in front of Han Fei. Wow! Han Fei was overjoyed. The bridge appeared again. Except for when the Great Way first appeared, he had only seen this bridge once. Until today, it appeared for the second time. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, can I go up this time? The old turtle also said at this time, did you see it? The white mist covering the bridge seems to be a little less. Han Fei was stunned. Yes, that's right. The last time he saw this bridge, it was shrouded in white mist everywhere and he couldn't see anything. This time, although it looked the same, the white mist covering the bridge was at least 1/3 less. Han Fei immediately thought of something. It's the wish power. Thinking of this, Han Fei's heart was excited. The wish power could be integrated into the Great Way and make the Great Way stronger. Even at this moment, Han Fei still felt that invisible power was gathering. This time, Han Fei didn't immediately go up the bridge, because the amount of white mist was gradually decreasing. After half an hour, the amount of white mist was reduced to about half of the original and stopped decreasing. And Han Fei felt that the wish power he had obtained was almost consumed. Wow! Seriously? The power of faith of millions of soldiers is gone. The old turtle couldn't help but say, just be content. This power is already a lot. If you have 1 or 2 more times of this kind of wish power, your Great Way may be revealed. Han Fei thought to himself, how can there be so many times? If you want to win the faith of millions of people, don't you have to do the corresponding things? If you don't do anything, people won't believe you. Second. Asking for votes, end of this chapter.